Hello, everyone. We have another one of these this week. Skype likes to take over control of the microphone volume, and I didn't notice it for like the first 6 or 7 minutes of the show, but my mic volume was cranked up way too high. I have tried to bring it down, but reducing it too much leads to this odd distortion. I'm not sure why. It could completely be something wrong with my editing skills, but regardless, there will be 6, 7, maybe 8 minutes, I don't remember exactly, of me being way too loud, and I do apologize for that, but I notice it and then fix it, and the rest of the show is fine. So once again, I do apologize. It seems that we are having a string of weeks where the things just don't always go perfectly. But that's alright. We love you anyways, and I hope you love us too. Anyways, as I said last time that I did this, go for the theme song. Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on January the 31st, 2017. I'm your host, Game Psychologist, and with me as always... Oh wait, I've forgotten.
No, that's your thing. Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we've played. We'll have our monthly game club. We'll do that again. We'll have our monthly game club, which is FTL this month. And everything has gotten out of order on the sheet. The Division against microtransactions. We'll have our weekly community corner and our Steam weekly deals discussion. And timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Yeah, for some reason, community corner was bumped up to number 3 instead of being
probably because
6.
what we were talking about with the community corner, and you moved it.
I must have moved it by accident.
Because I was too busy sorting tweets to even mess with it.
Yeah, I must have messed it up somehow.
Besides, that's okay, I don't need to mess with it. I mean, you screw up your own enough already.
Yeah, it's fine. How are you, Rage?
Doing all right. Glad you decided to show up, though.
Yeah, by the way,
today.
yeah, the gag that I did for Rage's funny intro this week. So Saturday, I was just exhausted after a long week.
Yeah, and I was kind of tired as well and was a little grumpy.
Yeah, so... and correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, because I was pretty out of it, but I think I said something along the lines of, hey, do you want to do this again Monday? And I thought you said, yeah, we'll see how you're feeling. And I said, okay.
Which I kind of defaulted to, I haven't heard back from you saying no. And usually, if you don't get a hold of me, it's we're good to go.
Yeah, but I had just forgotten all about that exchange. And so Monday night, I tweeted something like, hey, thinking about streaming some Factorio for shits and giggles. And you were like, are we not recording? And then it dawned on me, and my response was like, you know what, man? I just forgot. No excuses. I just forgot. But
I mean, I was getting set up. I was having my pre-recording cup of coffee, and it's like, Jared? You forgot something.
Oh, yep, that was totally my bad. But it's all right. We played Factorio, and you hung out and talked with us for a while, and it was nice to just hang out.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Murder Ball.
We don't do very much just hanging out and playing games. Like, usually whenever we play games, it's on stream, or we're recording something. So that was nice
honestly,
to just hang out.
Too different.
No, I mean, I did stream that, but it was just, like, random. Just like I'm just going to do it. So... But I mean, it worked out because we got I got a couple extra people to come play Factorio multiplayer. Me and Ghost Shark started, and Be Cool was watching the stream and was like, "Hey, can I join?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we had some multiplayer Factorio going on, which was nice. Did I ask you how you were doing? I did.
Yeah.
I got completely sidetracked by that story.
Gee, it's almost like you forgot or something.
Sure, we could go with that. Yeah. So it's a podcast recording, everybody. Fingers crossed that nothing breaks this week, no internet goes down, no power goes out.
Yeah, have you done your small animal sacrifice this week to see if that changes things?
No, I haven't. Which is not good.
I guess George got off for this week then. A letter from the governor.
I made my sacrifice to the computer gods though over the weekend. I got my hard drive back from Western Digital, or I should say my replacement hard drive. And I cracked open the computer case and put it in and smashed my finger and cut open my hand.
Oh, you did your blood sacrifice. Got it.
Yeah, and all I did was I put the hard drive in, and I've got little clippies that hold it in place. I don't even have to use screws. It's got, mounting brackets in there with little clippies. Clipped it in, plugged it up to the SATA, or plugged the SATA cable in, and plugged the power cable in. Got everything good, and went to fix my fan. So I tweeted a couple of weeks ago that I had a fan that died on me, and that I would replace it next time I cracked my case open. I got to looking, and whenever I pulled the drive out, I must have just tugged on the power cord, and I unplugged the fan. So that was an easy fix. Just plug it back in and working no problem. So I didn't actually have a fan die. But doing those two simple tasks, smashed a finger, cut my hand.
Can we call that a computer bite?
Oh, that's so bad, but I love it.
And that's why you love it.
Yeah. So I did do my blood sacrifice. Hopefully we don't have any problems this week.
I guess we'll see, huh?
And let me just say, thank God that we're finally talking about FTL. I don't know how many times we've mentioned this, but you know what? We're going to mention again. It feels like it's been forever since we talked about a Game Club game. Well, I'm looking forward to moving on.
Well, it's been 4 weeks.
I know.
And the thing is, FTL is not a game that requires 4 weeks. This next one definitely will, though.
That might be the biggest problem with it. Like, you can form a pretty quick opinion in FTL in like a couple of hours, and then that opinion probably is not going to change very much.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, okay, because I played Factorio, or not Factorio, I did play Factorio, but I played FTL for maybe 5 hours for this game club, which, I mean, we'll get way more into detail that later.
I also had plenty of time with FTL beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I'd played it 3 or 4 hours before, and about 4 or 5 for this one, and I was just like, okay, I'm done.
Let's put it this way. I'm at 50 hours total for FTL.
You play FTL way more than I have. I think I'm at like 10 hours or 12 maybe.
So, like I said, I could have done the game club in December because I already had my opinion of FTL.
Yeah. But before we descend into game club talk, we should talk about the games that we played this week. My list is
FTL.
No, my list is a bit longer than yours.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You can just go ahead and go first. And
here's
one
the thing.
Of them's together.
You're keeping up the whole thing of I play a game and then you play it.
Well, I mean, you suggest you should play these games and we should talk about it, so it's also partly your fault.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that, I guess.
My chair's broken, or I'd be spinning.
Easy there, man, Fuhrer. Besides, do you have your nomination yet, or has the president not gone to you yet?
Oh, let's try to avoid that this week.
Okay. Well,
we talked about it at length last night.
Some Murder Ball. I played a little bit of FTL this week. Or not, FTL as well, but Rocket League. Sorry,
you did it too. You did it too.
I'm so focused on FTL and wanting to get it out of the way as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played a little bit of Rocket League, and like I said, it tends to divulge into Murder Ball for me, just because I'm rough with my opponents. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Oh yeah, that's definitely a fair thing to say.
And matches always get violent, more violent with me around. I posted a GIF, I guess it was a couple weeks now, or was it this past week, where I showed this goal that I set up and just murdered the goalie as he moved around and got lined up to do the block. and just completely blindsided him.
Yeah.
It's things like that that just amuses me. And it's when I get the other team angry enough that they start gunning for me and stop playing the game.
You do have that effect on people. I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, you'll just all of a sudden see me get chain killed. But that also opens up their goal for an easy score. So I'm the sacrifice.
You are the blood sacrifice.
I'm not even sure what traditional soccer position I would be considered. Maybe attacking forward, because I do try to set up plays instead of taking them myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about most sports, and soccer is definitely towards the bottom of the list.
Just wondering, is there a soccer position where you just murder the opposing team?
Probably not.
See, soccer would be a lot more popular in the United States if there were.
I would definitely be interested if there were explosions when people were playing soccer.
Granted, from what I've seen online, there are a lot of theatrics in soccer. Probably my favorite one is a guy gets his ear flicked by the opponent, and he just falls down to the ground, clutching his ear like the guy tried to rip it off.
I'd love to see Mike Tyson play soccer. What would be the response to him biting someone's ear off?
Before or after he fucks them?
Yes. And.
Easy there, Kyle. But of course, I'm more imagining Mike Tyson's voice as he's doing call-outs for plays.
Yeah.
Good thing Mike Tyson could never hear this.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I do enjoy watching you play Murder Ball. Speaking of Rocket League, I need to go turn the Rocket League soundtrack back on. This week's podcast brought to you by Rocket League Soundtrack.
Yeah, and the pre-recording, or the pre-game, was brought to you by Dr. Horrible Sing-Along Blog.
I love that movie.
Yeah, aren't they supposed to be doing another one?
I don't know. It would be amazing if they did, though.
Would you want to see a direct sequel or another story along that line?
It's probably a sequel, because I want it to contain the same three majors. Neil Patrick Harris. And,
it's going to be a little tough with three majors. Not wanting to spoil things.
What are you talking about? Oh, that's right, because she dies.
Spoiler. So much for not wanting to spoil things.
That movie came out years ago. Didn't it come out in 2008 or 2009?
I don't know. I only watched it a couple years ago, so
it's past the statute of limitations.
It was a sled.
I had a friend.
It turns out that him becoming evil cost him a pretty penny.
It came out in 2008.
All right. Well,
so the statute of limitations is long gone for that movie.
Yeah, I only watched it a couple years ago, so.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. I had a friend in college show it to me. He was like, "You like Neil Patrick Harris, right? Yeah. You like Nathan Fillion, right? Yeah. You like Felicia Day, right? Yeah. Then man, do I have a thing for you." It's good. Good.
And how many of those songs did you sing?
All of them. I love it. Bad horse, bad horse. I'll definitely watch this tomorrow. I was gonna say if we get done early enough tonight, but that's not happening. So I'll watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, and I may have also mind-fucked a couple of our listeners by suggesting an anime to them.
Oh, have they replied in Discord? They have.
Yeah.
They haven't really said very much about it, though.
Well, Jim called it very generic, except for the twist, which that's kind of the point.
Yeah, that's the point of it. The rest of it is very not... I don't think generic. I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen enough anime in that genre to know if it's generic or not.
Well, the first part of it is very generic, but that's the entire point, is to lure you in.
Yeah. I want to watch anime, too.
I told you, we need to have an anime night, the two of us, so we have something to talk about. Because we have to save everything for the podcast game-wise.
We need to create another day of the week. We do something every night, except Monday nights. And Monday nights are kind of my night to do with as I please, which usually is sit in front of the couch or sit on the couch and just like stare at space. That's not true. Here lately I've been playing Factorio on Monday nights for like the last 3 weeks, but
So pretty much the same thing.
relatively, yeah. Just watching the logistics bots block out the sky. I took a few screenshots that I need to post on Twitter of just like lines and lines of logistics bots. I've got 2 games going right now. One of them with more aggressive aliens and one with less aggressive. But well, I guess that's for me to talk about during Factorio. So
yeah, which we've gotten way off track from Rocket League.
Yes, we have.
But to be honest, there's not a lot to talk about with Rocket League outside of I'm very violent in that game, and just treat it as murder ball half the time. But honestly, it's become that's like my sub game is that I see how angry I could get the other team.
Game within a game.
I just see I see a goalie. And it's like goalie must kill.
Yeah.
And then I just see how many times I could blindside him until he gets too paranoid for me to kill anymore.
Right. Well, then let's talk about the other game that you played this week, which I
leads
also played.
Yours. I didn't do the Sunday sampler just because I was too tired to record it. And honestly, I didn't really have any good games that were recent. And in my backlog is more long-term projects that require several days of gameplay to really be able to do anything with.
Right.
Which I should start working on anyway, but we both played the For Honor beta, and you liked it a lot more than I did.
I really, really liked this game. A lot.
I did a little digging after we played, and I think I found why some of us were having connection issues. It does peer-to-peer connections.
Oh,
it doesn't have dedicated servers, so if your connection's not above a certain grade of stability, you will get dropped often. So there's the catch. It's optimized beautifully, and I wasn't too wild for it, but it does play all right. So I was looking for, okay, this is a Ubisoft game. Something has to be shitty somewhere. Where is it? There you go.
Yeah, the game is gorgeous. Goodness. And to use the phrase well-optimized PC port alongside the term this is a Ubisoft title.
Yeah, it feels like hell's frozen over, doesn't it?
Yeah, cats and dogs are getting married, and it's the end of the world.
Pure pandemonium.
Yeah. So it really is. I had everything set to ultra. I had it super sampling to what does it super sample it to?
I was going too nuts with super sampling.
I can't remember if it's super sampled to 2K or 4K.
Yeah, I didn't. I turned down the anti-aliasing, and I didn't really see any performance increases with it. No,
I had everything maxed. I did that because I was going to do a little bit of a stress test. Okay, let's see, where do I have to turn this to? Brand new game. I've got pretty decent hardware, but still, I'm not expecting to run modern titles like this at maximum. And I was like, good lord, my CPU's not getting pushed over 50. I'm not getting frame drops below 60. My average frame rate was around 75 or 80.
Yeah, the benchmark, I was averaging in the 70s range overall.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the benchmark?
In the benchmark, I was around 65. Kind of average gameplay scenario, though. It was in the 70s. Because, benchmarks are a little bit stressful.
Yeah.
So,
which
I was amazed
I
at
expect
how
the
well it
benchmark
ran.
to be worst case scenario.
Yeah. I didn't have any crashing issues. The game didn't crash on me once. I only got dropped from one match, so I guess I got lucky with getting, good hosts, or maybe I was the host. I've got a decent internet connection. But anyways, I didn't experience a lot of the network problems that especially Ghost Shark had to deal with. That the second time we played, he got dropped like almost every game for an hour or so.
And there you go. Is why he was getting dropped was peer to peer, which is just terrible. There's no excuse to have it on PC.
No,
I mean I can't understand it on consoles either because you're fucking paying for the online service.
The only games that I think that need to or that are okay using a peer-to-peer server is a game where that the tick rate and lag don't really matter. Like if you're playing Civilization, peer-to-peer is fine. Everybody takes their turns. It's not like anything's going on real time.
But I'm considering more an action-packed game like For Honor.
Well, yeah, no, this game is definitely an action game. For anybody who doesn't know, For Honor is a third-person fighting game.
Let's call it a third-person fighting MOBA.
That's a really apt description, yeah. There are a couple of modes that aren't MOBA. There's the duel mode, which there's a 2v2 and a 1v1 duel.
Which that's essentially your bog standard fighting game, only think of it as more of a chivalry or warband fighting style where it's all directional based.
Right.
Which I do like the directional based combat. It's just, it feels like there's a bit too many abilities that just negate that.
Yeah.
Having the somebody throw down a smoke cloud and suddenly, you can't even see if they're attacking, let alone what direction they're attacking.
Well, those abilities can't be used in the duel mode. Those are only available when you play the 4 versus 4.
Yeah, I know.
What's it called? Dominion mode or whatever?
Let's just call it the MOBA mode, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah,
that
the main
feels
thrust
like
of the
a
game
bit
is the
of bullshit.
MOBA. Yeah, some of the skills or abilities are a little frustrating, but the ones that I tried...
And I kept seeing, like, every time I was get attacked, it was always the camera decided, let's hover over your attacker's head so you can't see him coming.
Yeah, coming up on somebody from behind, like, unless they're actively panning the camera around, they're not, whoever's coming up from behind is not going to get spotted.
Also, it wasn't even always from behind. It was, the camera would pan over a little bit to give me a better shot of the action. And, at the same moment somebody was coming up behind, not even from behind me, but from, like, my left.
Yeah.
And it's the same problem I actually have in Mad Max, is that they go for a more action style camera where they're trying to focus on what's going on in the game and not give you the situational awareness that you need for other things. Like, in Mad Max, racing, for example.
See, I kind of had the opposite experience with that. I'm not sure because I tweaked with my camera settings a lot. I had the field of view max.
I didn't tweak my camera settings nearly that much, so maybe that's the thing.
Yeah, because there were some dynamic camera options that you could tweak and change, like how often it zooms in or out and things like that. And I turned most of that off.
Okay, I didn't mess with that at all, so maybe that's my problem. But
I liked the zoom in for executions. Because, I mean, when you're doing an execution, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're locked into that animation until someone hits you or you finish it.
Yeah, true.
So you can't really do anything anyways. But
having the camera be that frustrating on default settings, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't like the default settings. I didn't like it zooming in. Actually, whenever I would get into combat with more than
that's probably my
one
problem. Then was that I didn't go in and tweak the settings, and I didn't realize that there were that many settings for the camera.
Yeah, it had a pretty robust amount of camera settings, which I was pleased with, because I turned it kind of the opposite. Whenever I would get into combat with multiple people, my camera would step out another kind of zoom level so that I could see both people better, or three, however many people engaging.
Yeah, and it wasn't doing that for me. So there you go.
Yeah, it's very. What's the right word? The combat is very mechanically sound and very visceral.
Fluid.
Yeah.
I would go with a pretty fluid, because you are able to go pretty easily between opponents. Now, granted, you don't want to go between opponents. You do want to keep it 1-on-1 if all possible, because if the moment it goes 2-on-1, unless you're doing the death kill or the death blow on someone, you are utterly fucked.
Yeah, and there's basically 3 different classes for each of the 3 factions. And they play a little bit differently, but for the most part, you've got your kind of all-round person, your jack of all trades. You've got a tanky character, and you've got a glass cannon, like berserker character. And each of them plays very differently. And the tanky character can do okay against two people if you're competent enough at it, but the other two struggle, particularly the assassin / berserker style damage dealer, because they have no health, little armor, and they get killed really quickly. The game can be very punishing too. Like, there's several different layers to the combat. Like blocking, there's different ways to block attacks. Certain characters, like for example, the tanky guys all have shields, and so they block pretty much everything and take very little damage as long as you're blocking from the right attack direction.
Yeah.
The assassin type berserker characters, though, they're more parry focused when it comes to their blocks. So you really have to time your blocks, because they can't sit there and hold a block forever like the guy with the shield. So you have to time it just right, and if you get it perfect, you can actually do a counterattack. So there are different play styles, different levels to it. There's exhaustion level. So if your character starts to get worn out, their attacks become slower and weaker. And if you run out of stamina, you can't block anymore and you can't sprint. So if that happens, you're pretty much screwed unless someone comes to your rescue, or you just get really lucky. Certain characters can develop sort of adrenaline or rage that can kind of negate that stamina effect. Several of the characters have like a revenge mechanic. Like if you're with a teammate and your teammate gets killed, a couple of the character classes can get like an adrenaline rush, and they do more damage for a short time and don't tire out, because it's like, oh, you just killed my friend and now I'm pissed off, and even more adrenaline is pumping. So it's nice. There's lots and lots of levels to combat, and you have to learn, like, is it time for me to attack? Is it time to defend? Or should I just run away?
Yeah, and it seems like we got several people, well, at least when I was playing with you guys, that had been playing that game all day, were already pretty good at it.
Yeah. It's got, I think, like, to become basically proficient at the game, you can do that pretty easily. And then it's one of those games that's got a very high skill ceiling.
Yeah, which I generally like. It's just they didn't have enough people at our level, or at least when I was playing, that the matchmaking was just throwing us to the wolves.
Yeah, and I don't understand if there's any sort of way that matchmaking balances, because each of the characters, you don't receive an overall level. Each of your characters has
which is
their
a
own
bit of a red
level.
flag for me.
Yeah, this game definitely is. I don't know if they've confirmed or denied or whatever, but there's lots and lots of places where microtransactions.
I was about to say. Remember, I was talking about that exact thing when I was going through all the customizations. Like, oh, I see so many places for microtransactions. I hate being so cynical about this, but kind of a reason to be cynical these days with microtransactions, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually doing a quick Google search to see if anything's been said about that. I can't spell transactions.
You have so many different customization options, and then you have cosmetic customizations, and then you have the gear, which all have different stats associated with them.
Okay, so here's what they're doing. All DLC in terms of maps and game modes and characters will be free, but they are going to have a microtransaction system to unlock those packs and to buy cosmetics.
Buying the packs that give you gear? You can buy this directly? Well, that's pay to win then.
If they keep the sort of buy rate on the packs, what it is, it's not too hard to earn. The top tier pack was 500 gold or coins or whatever the in-game currency is.
Yeah, which
not sure.
I never. Did we win a match while I was playing? I know we lost several.
I don't know.
I know
we did.
Losing was about 30 gold.
If you win, you get 100, over 100.
All right.
You get like a base of 100 plus a performance bonus. And if you lose, I think you only get your performance gold.
Yeah, I was getting 30 to 40.
If they had a little bit higher drop rate on the items naturally and kept the same gold and they don't modify the cost of anything, I mean, it still sucks. I'm not defending it, but that would make it at least acceptable because you could get packs and get a gear drop rate really quickly.
Here's my thing, is that even if you could get a pack every game or every 2 games, you're still able to just drop in a bunch of money and get the packs, and these packs have power. They are stats.
Well, yes, but you can only equip gear based on the level of your character. I mean, eventually, absolutely, you can just buy power, but if you get a bunch of packs with gear that you can't use because it's a higher level, then you've got it for the future, but you can't use it now. I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm not
really. Here's the thing: is do they have different rarities of gear? Do they have like the legendary helmet that just makes you a complete badass?
I don't know. I didn't see any rarities of gear in the beta, but again, beta.
And I only got to open up a few packs.
You can level up gear though by breaking down items that you're not using. You get
which once again that starts to lean towards the pay to win aspect because okay, you need to level up your gear. Well, I'll just buy 20 packs to get all the gear components that I need.
Yeah, I do feel like that this game though has a very heavy skill requirement. Like this is one of the things that like you can have the best equipment, but if you can't block somebody, it doesn't matter. You know, or if you can't dodge, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
the skill is definitely going to come down a lot to if you win or lose. But it's just I'm tired of microtransactions in general in AAA games like this.
I'm right there with you.
And to see it attached to something that actually gives you stats. So it comes down to if you and someone else are of a similar skill set or skill level, and the other person put in $20, $30, $50 into this game and bought a bunch of packs and has his sword up to ludicrous levels, he could just beat the ever-living hell out of you, and there's really not a lot you could do because, well, you're on a similar skill level, but he has objectively better stats because he put in money. And it's hard to argue that that's not pay to win.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to argue that it's not pay to win. Just, I think that as with all things, I'm a little bit more lenient on stuff than you are, and that.
I'm also an older gamer, so back in my day, we got games on fucking cartridges, and it was the entire damn game.
Just picturing you like with your new cane and like pants pulled up to your armpits. Back in my day, kids. No, I totally get it. I'm sick and tired of microtransactions. You just want my
long, hard, black shaft.
Yeah, I do. It's black, huh? I can dig that. But you know, I'm with you. I'm sick and tired of AAA games having microtransactions. I'm okay with things being DLC and expansions as long as it's not stuff that was withheld from the game intentionally.
Yeah, and I can kind of see cosmetic stuff, but when it's this that's attached to stats, that's over the line for me. That on top of peer-to-peer, they've completely lost me. But I don't think that they ever really had me because I wasn't enthralled with the game.
Yeah. For me, I liked the multiplayer, but I'm most interested in the single-player content, and the beta did not include that. So, as far as a demo for like how well the game plays and handles and things like that, I'm very pleased with the beta.
Which there's going to be another beta the weekend before it goes live or releases, I should say.
Right, that's probably a final stress test.
Yeah, and but here's the thing: is that even for the single-player content, it requires a constant connection.
Right. I mean, I understand how that would be bothersome, but that does not bother me. Like, I mean, I think that that's shitty and it shouldn't exist, but in a world where that we're becoming more and more interconnected.
It's not even the fact that you're always online. It's the
fact that if they're not
aren't online. And the fact that we've had, we'll use the term hacker group very, very loosely for a bunch of script kiddies. Just DDoS servers to the ground. How many years in a row have we had either PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, or Steam get DDoSed on Christmas Day?
It's been a few years now. I think it's been like the last 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah, one of the big three. Usually it's on the console side of things, actually.
Yeah.
Which is just hilarious because, once again, paid service.
Yeah.
But it's the same idea. If some kid gets banned because he was cheating or something, and gets pissed off, he buys time on a button and just DDoSes the servers. And guess what? You can't play your single player content.
Yeah. I mean, that sucks. I'll agree, and I mean I can't argue against that. Just in a world where things are becoming constantly more and more online integrated, it's getting harder and harder. Or not. That's the wrong way to say it. It's becoming less and less important to me personally.
Well, it's also the fact that they can pull the servers and you lose access to your game totally for single-player content if they don't patch out that constant online requirement for DRM.
Yeah.
And that's another aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it all comes down to what matters most to you as a consumer.
And how much you trust the company. And honestly, I don't trust Ubisoft.
I mean, I don't trust Ubisoft as far as I can throw them, but I do trust the people who would create cracks for the game. So,
yeah, honestly, I'm not in the mind that you should have to crack your game in order to fucking play it if you bought it.
Oh no, I agree with you there as well. But that doesn't bother me as much, again, because I think the difference in you're a little bit older than me. So I'm very used to pretty much everything I own being more of like a digital license as opposed to a physical product. So in my mind, that's not a big deal, but I'm not going to say that it's not a big deal for everybody, because obviously it is for some people. But I'm hoping that the single player reviews well. But I'm not sure if I'm going to buy For Honor, Halo Wars 2, or both at launch, or wait for one of them. I don't know. Because do you have anything else to say about For Honor before I segue out of it?
Not really. It's basically two genres that I don't either really have a lot of experience with or don't really care about. The MOBA and the fighting genre.
Yeah.
So I was already kind of lukewarm on it, but I tried it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, free weekend. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, which they're doing a free weekend for Rainbow Six Siege, and supposedly that has a really toxic community.
Probably does. But so yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to go for For Honor or Halo Wars 2, because they both come out mid-February. I think For Honor comes out first in 2 weeks, and then Halo Wars 2 is in 3 weeks. But I played the Halo Wars 2 Blitz beta over the weekend. So Blitz mode is a Halo version of Clash Royale.
All right.
That's what they've done with it. It's more complicated is the wrong word. It's more in-depth, much more strategic than Clash Royale or that type of game, because it's taking that idea from a mobile platform and putting it into a more serious game. And it's got a lot of stuff that I really like. It also has some stuff that I really hate. So if they just went with the whole idea of you've got your cards, you build a deck, and you get your energy to play them, and each faction gets different cards, that would be great. But of course, it has a leveling system where you have to level the cards, and it's also ripe for microtransactions. I don't know if they've said that it's going to have microtransactions or not, but
I think the default stance is
probably.
If it can have microtransactions these days, it's going to have microtransactions.
I'm just going to search that really quickly.
Honestly,
spelled microtransactions wrong again.
Honestly, the only Clash Royale style game that I've seen that hasn't had the leveling system though has been Minion Masters.
Yeah. It doesn't. They don't say. I don't see anything in the first page of articles, and I'm not going to dig too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's become basically micro-genre standard is that your units have this level up that each level up makes them just better than the previous level.
Yeah. But it's a fun game mode. Halo Wars was not all that great at being it was a good RTS for a console, but it lacked in a lot of areas that make RTS really good, like building your base and setting up defenses and things like that. The compromises it made to be a console RTS sacrificed a lot of the enjoyment and strategy that comes from base building. And in Blitz mode, you don't worry about that. Your objective is basically to destroy the enemy's pre-built base, or capture all of the energy nodes on the map. And they start out all neutral, and you get a set rate of energy to play your cards. And as you capture each node, you get more energy so you can play cards faster. So eventually it kind of turns into a steamroll. But there's give and take and paths to defend and assault, and each faction has like a super weapon card that they get unlocked whenever they're about to lose that they can use to try and turn the tide of battle. So it's got some neat mechanics, and it does something that you can't do on mobile, which is have up to 4v4 blitz battles.
Interesting.
So that makes things a little bit more interesting. Like, okay, do we want to team up? Does everybody want to try and take on one guy, or whatever? And it just bigger, more units than you can have on mobile, because consoles are at least more powerful than mobile devices.
They are.
And I played it on PC too. I played on both my Xbox and on PC because you could download it through the Windows Store, because it's Halo Wars 2 is a Play Anywhere title. So I checked it out on both, and it obviously plays better on PC, but it plays surprisingly well on console as well. So
what's more surprising is that the Windows Store worked long enough for you to download that.
But I had a good time with it. I'm not a big fan, or I wasn't a big fan of the Halo Wars multiplayer. I'm at best painfully average at RTS games. So I don't do very well online most of the time because I just get murdered by anybody who's...
Well, here's the thing, is that you're not Korean.
That's very true. I'm not Korean. I'm a fat white guy. Fat white guys aren't very good historically at real-time strategy games. But, I love Halo. I've said it a million times. The Halo universe is one of my favorite video game universes. I loved the original Halo Wars for the story that it told. And I'm pretty convinced that they'll tell a good story. And based on the betas that I've played, the gameplay mechanics really haven't changed all that much. I've added some new units and new heroes and stuff, but it's Halo Wars 1 with a new shiny coat of paint. So I don't know if I'll get For Honor or Halo Wars first. Unless they just review like both of them terribly, in which case I skip both of them altogether.
I'll honestly be shocked if For Honor reviews terribly, unless the microtransactions are very egregious or there's some sort of problem that pops up in the release version, because let's just call a spade on this. The beta was a demo for Halo Wars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Unless there's some minor networking problem behind the scenes, which, okay, there was a major networking problem with Ghost Shark constantly getting dropped.
Yeah,
but there's no time to fix this without pushing back the game.
Halo Wars had a real beta though in the last summer after E3. That was a true beta, because the game wasn't coming out until February.
Which is kind of funny to have to quantify that, saying, well, they had a real beta, but also I'm starting to see people get into betas for games. They complain about betas being buggy.
Right.
And I'm just looking at you like, you dumb motherfucker.
Halo Wars didn't have any major network problems. I could have just not experienced them, but I haven't seen any reports and the stuff that I looked up of people having huge network issues with Halo Wars 2, so that's a plus, but I suspect that they have dedicated servers for that game, which would definitely help. So I enjoyed it, though. It's just, my dilemma is, well, which one should I get first? I'll probably wait until they both are out, since it's 1 week apart on their release dates, see how the reviews are doing, and get a more full idea of the whole content of the game.
Yeah,
and then pick
because
which one I'm going to
for
buy first.
honors, you're more interested in the single player anyway, so you need for people to formulate their opinions on that.
Right, and Halo Wars for me, it's mostly about the story because I'm already okay with all the gameplay mechanics. So, I guess Halo Wars would probably be first,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
long as
It's
people
something
say the
about
story is
Master Chef, right?
good. Yeah, that Master Chef guy. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What was his name? Gordon Ramsay, or
Guy Fieri. Who knows? I might buy both of them. I might buy neither of them.
well,
We'll see.
this is that's my problem. It's not Elton Brown.
All right, moving on to other games that I played.
Yeah, completely out of order from your list, by the way.
What? Do what?
Completely out of order from your list.
Oh yeah, that's fine. The other game, one of the other games I played this week, Factorio. We did some multiplayer Factorio last night or Monday night, I guess, dear listener. And that was a lot of fun. I've actually never played much multiplayer Factorio. A little bit when I first got it, because I was having some issues with things, and Kyle, who had played it for a while at the time, helped me out learning a few things. And then I started a multiplayer game with someone else at one point, because I had a multiplayer save from a few versions ago. So maybe 3 hours total multiplayer. And we played for, I think, 4 or 5 hours last night. We got pretty far up the tech tree. And we had a really good time. The multiplayer makes Factorio go so much faster.
Yeah, I think that's my major problem with Factorio is that single player, it is very sluggish.
Yeah, but with
I haven't
multiple
played
people,
it in a version or two.
Yeah, with multiple people, it goes extremely quickly. Because, like, Ghost was, amazed at me, starting, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. He's like, I don't know what to do. And eventually, we were like, why don't you do research? You focus on our research, and I'll focus on doing these things. And then whenever Cube joined us, he was just kind of, following one of us around and just helping out with whatever we were doing.
He was a lost puppy.
Well, not that bad. I mean, he did some things on his own, and he helped. Whenever we would go through an interim, okay, we need to change this, and that means we're going to have to get rid of this or make this thing to just get us by for a little while. Oh, there's my coffee pot telling me that it's going off. But Cube would do that, and then he would go and help make things more efficient as well, where it's like, oh, we need some more iron production. He would go and plop down a couple more forges so that we could get more iron or whatever. So, but it's a lot of fun in multiplayer. We're going to start playing it more. I don't know if we'll do a Wednesday or a Friday stream for it, maybe. But we're just going to keep playing with that same game regardless. And I mean, I know that you have it, so you can join in too.
Yeah, I just haven't played it in a while.
You could continue your murder fest. We're going to have to start killing aliens soon and getting purple science and clearing out.
You mean I could take a tank and just run over aliens?
Yeah, take a tank, run over aliens, get a flamethrower. Oh my gosh, the flamethrower is amazing now. The flamethrower was an okay weapon before, and so I skipped over it for a while, but they've added flamethrower turrets now, and so I dropped a couple of those down to defend my single-player base and just watch them shoot out streams, because the flamethrower before would just kind of shoot fire in front of you, and you're like, okay, this is a flamethrower. But now, if you've ever seen any World War II documentaries where they use flamethrowers,
yeah,
it looks like that, and it works like that. So now flamethrowers are amazing. And also burning forests down is the easiest way to remove trees. You can do that now. Used to, you couldn't do that. I mean, you could destroy a tree one at a time with fire, but now you can basically just shoot an arc of fire out and burn down a whole forest. There's even an achievement for burning trees to the ground.
Is it a reference to Smokey the Bear?
I don't know. I got the achievement today or last night.
Hang on,
go look
check
and see what it says. Yeah.
If it's not a reference to Smokey the Bear, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Let's see. What are my achievements? Oh, no, it's just called Pyromaniac. Destroy 10,000 trees with fire.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
But they've added achievement trackers to the game, too. I noticed that today, or yesterday when I was playing. You can actually see your progress towards achievements, which I'm not too big of an achievement person. Occasionally I'll find a game that I'm like, oh, I want to get achievements. And Factorio is definitely one of those games. Although some of them I will never get. Like there's one achievement for only building 111 items in your hands and using factories to build everything else. And that's basically a perfect game, and then never building anything else in your hand ever again. And that would be difficult, because I think in my single-player game alone, my most recent single-player game, I've probably built 10,000 items in my hand. It's just easy. It takes a long time. You don't get any factory bonuses, but it's like, well, everything else is going, and I just need to get like these 10 things. I'll build them. And then you do that 1,000 times over the course of a 40-hour game, and there you go. It's called Lazy Bastard. Win the game by crafting no more than 111 items manually.
Wait. You don't want to get this achievement? I mean, it has your name all over it.
It's called Lazy Bastard, but it would actually be a lot of hard work to make sure you don't craft more than 111 items in your own inventory. Logistics network embargo, I'd never get that one. Win the game without building any active provider or requester chests. I run my game with logistics bots. Iron Throne, produce 200,000 iron plates per hour. Man, I better get on that. Yeah. A lot of I want to get a lot of these achievements. You know, some of them I won't get, but I would like to get them. So,
you secretly deep down want to get Lazy Bastard.
I do want to get it, but it's so much work. I probably could do it on a peaceful game, because then I could just like take my time, because it really would, it would slow you down, because the initial factories are actually, they have a penalty for building things. So it would be slower than crafting things in your hand, like the tier 1 factories. And you would have to like deliberately stop and think about it. At least I would. But I might go for it and just play on a peaceful map so that I don't have to worry about the aliens coming to eat me. But so that's Factorio. I'll ask on Twitter and see if everybody wants to play it for stream night either tomorrow or Friday. But I'll probably start playing that occasionally, at the very least, in multiplayer with people. Let's see. The other games that I played this week
games from last week.
Your games from last week that you said I should play. So,
well, I don't think I said you should play The Trail. At least I don't recall saying that. I said it was interesting.
Yeah, Golf Clash. Neither of them are bad games. I'll go Golf Clash.
Well, I had an issue with Golf Clash that came up. It kind of lost track of my of the junk Facebook that I made to link to it, and then Facebook realized this looks like a false account. We're going to lock in and make you send in a copy of your ID.
Hey?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they wanted me to send in a photocopy of my identification, a government-issued ID. And it's, fuck you.
I wouldn't do that on principle. Even if they locked my actual primary Facebook account, I wouldn't give that to them.
Yeah, I was actually shocked. I was thinking it was some sort of phishing thing at first. Yeah, because it's one of those things that you don't see people asking for that.
Yeah.
Particularly, Facebook, really? I mean, don't they already know all this shit anyway?
Yeah. My biggest problem with Golf Clash, though, is that I found it extremely boring. I love golf games.
The thing is that I was playing in very, very short bursts. Once I built up my number of chests, the chests do take a long time to unlock. It was 1 or 2 rounds per day.
Yeah. I played probably 15 or 20 games over the course of a few, like 2 or 3 days. And even then, spread out throughout the day, just like 5 minutes between a client session or when I had to go poop.
And also, it really depends on the quality of opponent you get.
See, I don't know. Maybe I should keep playing it some more to get to the higher level, because I didn't lose a single game.
Yeah,
not one.
Yeah. I went on like a 10 or 15 game winning streak at the very beginning.
Yeah, people, you said, they try and go for power shots and then wind up shanking it into the trees. It's like, don't do that. Just don't do that.
once you get out of the beginner tour, there's different tours that you can get, and as you build up your trophies, essentially your skill items, you unlock further ones, but it requires a bigger bet to get into.
Right. I also dislike that betting mechanic.
Yeah, it does get very old. I mean, granted, unless you're losing constantly, the free chest and the chest that you do get make up for it.
Yeah.
But on the second tour, I started getting people that were at least somewhat competent. And then the third tour, I constantly got challenged.
Maybe I should go back to it and just give it some more time, because that's the main reason I got bored. There was no challenge. I was just
because everybody was
crushing
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
which I don't understand. Maybe I almost think that they were bots or something, because there's not that many people that's that stupid.
Yeah, they were either Happy Gilmores or they were just bad. It's like, I mean, I just don't understand. Like, it's you just pull the thing back until it. They would. Well, I mean, the power. People who would pull it way too far back. Then the people.
We should probably explain that one. You pull it back to a certain point, and that's where your shot was aimed for. But you pull it further back to overpower the shot to make it go further.
Right, but it makes it more difficult.
Yeah,
to...
and the further you pull it back till you hit like the maximum, then it's going the shot indicator is going wildly back and forth, and you have to time it perfectly in order to even get a decent shot.
Right, but the shot indicator tells you when the perfect pullback is to get a perfect shot and give you the easiest chance to hit it where you want it to go. And that's just a timing thing, because it's got like a little arrow that swings back and forth, and you have to get it as close to the center as you possibly can. So,
which honestly, even just getting a great shot is usually more than enough.
Yeah, but they were just they would hit everything too far, even if they weren't like going to try and shoot it for a power shot. Like, instead of hitting a ball and letting it run up onto the green, they would shoot for the center of the green, and the ball would bounce off and roll off the back. Or they just couldn't aim. I mean, I understand, like, not everybody is going to be able to get it dead center every time.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't even be close. And, it shows the pictures of the Facebook accounts, and they're like grown people in these Facebook pages.
Yeah, that was kind of what was getting me. It's like, okay, you're that old, and you'll understand the concept of the ball bounces. I mean, granted, that is one thing that kind of annoyed me, is that you had to upgrade your clubs in order to get a club that had any backspin on it, and even then, even the short the lower end clubs, they didn't have that much backspin, so it was more just shortening your roll time than anything else.
Yeah. So it was. I'll give it I'll give it another shot this week and progress up farther in the leagues. Because that was, like I said, my biggest problem was I was just bored because I didn't have a challenge.
Yeah, I think the second tour you'll be more challenged, and the third tour is where I was starting to get really challenged, to the point that I was down to about a 50% win ratio.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just... what happened to me was that I linked it to a false Facebook account, and my phone has a very sensitive on the touchscreen on the edges. So I held my phone and it hit the watch an ad to get a few coins, and then it hit the ad, and it was actually for basically a similar game that's archery instead, which actually looked interesting. But it crashed the game and caused me to lose the link to the Facebook, and it wouldn't even load after that. And I actually uninstalled it, reinstalled it, and it didn't change. It just would get partway through, ask me for a login, attempt to log in. I even tried to log in on another false account to see if it would link to something else, and it just refused to. Which was disappointing because, it was at the point where it was getting to be a real challenge for me.
Yeah. So the other one, the trail.
Yeah, I didn't think I said for you to play this. I already talked about it being interesting.
Yeah, the concept.
I mean,
I don't.
maybe I said it. And, here's the thing: is that these podcast recordings kind of turn into a blur after the fact.
Yeah, either you said I should check it out, or you described it, and I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting."
Yeah, I think it's. You thought it sounded interesting and wanted to try it on your own.
Yeah.
So don't blame me on this one.
I don't think that the trial is a bad game, especially for a mobile game. Actually, the trail. I don't think the trail is a bad game, especially for a mobile game. It just wasn't for me.
I will say that it's very generous with its model.
Yeah.
The thing that drove me absolutely nuts with the trail was how they handled inventory management. And not even the fact that it's all physics-based in your backpack and you can stack it up everything. It's the fact that there's no way that I found to rotate items.
Yeah.
So, for example, sticks, that's used for quite a number of early game tools and items, all spawn in vertically, when you would think the best way to deal with them would have them horizontally and just put them in the bottom of your pack. But you can't do that. And you can't even kind of resort your pack unless you dump out everything. And then you have that random dick that's just standing there waiting to grab whatever that was out of your pack.
Well, I fixed that problem. As long as you stay in the inventory mode, if stuff falls out, it just kind of pops back in and falls down into the bag.
Yeah, which still makes it a hell of a pain if you want to resort things.
Yeah, but I would just take stuff and drag it around and push stuff out of the bag and then cram it all in there. I didn't have too much of a problem. That wasn't actually as annoying as it was still kind of annoying, but not as annoying as I thought it sounded. I get the idea of this game, you want to play a game that's very peaceful, relaxing, maybe you live in a city and you don't get to spend much time in nature, or you work in a cubicle. And
you look at a tree like some sort of exotic thing.
Yeah. And so, you want to take a little bit of time and just spend it in the game's aesthetic is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is a very pretty game.
Beautiful. It's incredibly pretty. I just don't care about that sort of thing. I just didn't like it. I didn't connect with it. It wasn't something that I was looking for. I recognize the game as being, pretty neat and very different from anything I've ever seen, period. Not just for a mobile game, but period. It just wasn't a game for me.
Yeah, I do wonder if it would change a lot once we got to the town and was able to start building our house. But the thing is that's a hell of a commitment. It's a long run up, if you pardon the turn of phrase.
Is it only 14 miles away, or is it you get 14 miles and then there's another?
No, it's 14. I think it's only 14, but the thing is that I got to the point where I was down to 7. And and that was several hours in.
Yeah, I only made it 4 miles. 4 or 5 miles maybe. Which, that was still a decent commitment that I played the game. I was fascinated by it, but I'm I don't really enjoy this. I don't really like this. It's interesting, but I don't like it.
And they were offering, skip to town for $10. Which honestly seems like it's missing the entire point of the game.
That defeats the purpose of the game, I think. I don't know. I think it's genuinely a good game. It's just not for me.
Honestly, it feels odd praising something that Peter Molyneux's attached to, doesn't it?
Yeah, although I have to say that I liked the entirety of the Fable series, even the ones that people didn't like. So I always gave him props for those. But
honestly, never really played them. I played a little bit of one on PC when it originally came out. But the thing is that they never released Fable 2, so I kind of lost my incentive to play through the trilogy because can't. Literally.
Yeah. And that sucks because Fable 2 is probably the best in the trilogy. It improved immensely on the original Fable. And then Fable 3 kind of took some of the best parts of Fable 2 away and replaced them with other things that turned out to be garbage. The original Fable is really good. I consider Fable 1 and Fable 3 to be on par with each other, which is heretical to most people. And Fable 2 is kind of the pinnacle of the series. But
do not blaspheme.
Fable 1 is a better game mechanically than Fable 3, but Fable 3 still had a lot of the improvements that they made in Fable 2 carry over to it. So it's a more full game in terms of realized concepts over Fable 1. Which, to me, how I weight the scales, Fable 3 gets more points because I'm more about, story and concept and experience versus mechanics. But, I mean, Fable 1 was still a great game. I played it a bunch of times. And I love how that's not a game that we played in. It's not the Game Club game.
Yeah.
I more accurately guessed how long we would spend talking about games this week. Actually, I probably got it exactly right, because we spent maybe 5 minutes bullshitting before we start talking about games.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
awesome.
Which means we're going to have to go over somewhere else now.
No. Let's keep everything exactly in time, and we'll be good.
Nah.
Well,
I think you may be overestimating Game Club.
Maybe.
Let's find out.
I originally put 45 minutes, but we do have 2 rather lengthy text letters that we're going to have to read for this, and perhaps a couple of talking points from those. So we'll do us first, then the letters, and then we'll respond to the letters.
And then we have the voting.
Right, we do have that too. I kind of included that in my mind with the Game Club as well. I didn't put it down as a separate topic. Which I can do if you'd like me to.
Yeah, because I always separate that out to have the link.
Okay. I won't put a time guesstimate on that. But in my mind, I rolled those 2 into the same amount of time. Anyways.
Okay, so Game Club.
Yep. Faster than light.
I want to say this right off the bat. On paper, this is a game I would absolutely love, but not quite as much. I still like the game, but it's... What?
I think this is so funny. On paper, this is a game I should absolutely hate. Or at least mostly dislike. Because FTL is incredibly mechanical. There is some story element to it, absolutely. That's undeniable.
Yeah, the story element's about... it's just your setup, and that's really it.
Yeah. I mean, the little environmental things that you run into, the random encounters and stuff, that's a bit of it too.
Giant spiders are no joke, man.
Giant spiders are no joke. But you do kind of build a story for yourself as you go through.
Yeah, true.
Just in case there's anybody who doesn't know what FTL is, Faster Than Light is a roguelite game where you are the captain of a spaceship. And your goal is to get to basically the end of the universe with a special message that the rebels are taking over and staging a coup. They're killing all the Federation, which is your faction. You have to make it to the end of the galaxy, warn your hierarchy or your higher ups, stage a counterattack, and destroy the rebel fleet.
Or it's not even the rebel fleet. You have to destroy the rebel flagship.
Well, the rebel flag... I mean, it feels like you're destroying the fleet, though, because to get to the flagship at the end, you do have to fight your way back through that last sector, and every jump, because it's been taken over by the rebels, you have to fight them.
Yeah.
So...
I think my primary problem with this game is its difficulty curve. It has a great difficulty curve up until the last sector with the boss fight.
Yeah.
And the boss fight feels more like a brick wall than a curve.
It's the difficulty cliff from the EVE Online example of the difficulty cliff.
You mean the Dwarf Fortress?
Yeah.
But unless you have a very particular build, that fight is impossible for you. That's a fair thing to say. If you don't have, with the Advanced Edition or whatever they're calling it, you do have a couple of extra paths, but you really require either cloaking or hacking. The boarding party maybe, but you require at least one of those 2 to be very highly built up. Otherwise, you're just going to get murdered by the missiles, which goes straight through shields.
Mm-hmm. Which I tend to play heavy shield builds, and the first time I got to the enemy flagship, I realized that all of those shields that I had were useless. And I died very quickly. I didn't even beat the first stage of the fight.
Yeah.
The first time that I got there.
Yeah,
I've never beat the game, actually. I've never beat it.
I've beat the game
always
several
get killed by the
times.
flagship. You have played it for a lot longer than I have, though. Like we were saying earlier, you've played it for about 50 hours. I've played it for about 10 or 12. So you've just thrown more bodies at it than I have, I guess, and you figured out a strategy. Because I've never looked up a guide or anything for how to beat it.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much has to be the cloaking device, and I build it up to the maximum, and I hit the cloak just as the missiles are launched. The cloaking max level and the missile defense or the missile barrage are slightly mistimed. The missile barrage is slightly quicker, but if you're able to kill the flagship quickly enough, you're able to get past that. The thing is that they changed it in the advanced edition where the power-ups are just absolutely insane on that boss fight. And I'm not sure if I've actually beaten the advanced edition.
I did not even get to the boss fight in the advanced edition. So I played it.
I could get to the boss fight pretty easily.
I played it for about 5 or 6 hours for this time just to get ready for Game Club because it had been a long time since I played.
Yeah, I only played a couple rounds because, I've played a lot of this. I know my shit on it.
Yeah, I played for a while on the standard and then for a while on the advanced edition just to compare the two. And every standard run, I would get to Sector 7 or Sector 8, which is the final sector to go fight the flagship. And in the advanced edition, the farthest I got was Sector 6. So I don't know, if just my lack of experience with that, I was choosing the wrong builds, or if it did something to change the difficulty curve. But
the big thing for the advanced edition, if I recall correctly, is that it does add some more encounters. It adds a new race, if I recall correctly as well. The guys that suck out all the oxygen, and I'm blanking on their name.
Yeah, I didn't run into them.
Yeah, I actually got a crew member of them. He was my favorite to go put out fires.
Yeah, because then you don't have to open all the doors. The doors are definitely the MVP of.
No, I still opened up the doors. He survives without oxygen. So open up the doors and then send him in.
You just get a whole crew of those guys and just leave the doors open all the time.
Actually, that's a strategy for their ship. They do have a playable ship. Of course, if you get any other race, you are kind of screwed because they are usually stuck in one room.
Yeah. The doors are definitely the MVP of this game, though.
Yeah.
You can solve more problems with the doors than anything else. It's got a fire? Just open the doors so that you vent all the oxygen out into space. Got borders? Open the doors, vent all the oxygen out into space.
Yeah, level up doors to level 2 or level 3 and so that you can't get through them as quickly.
Yeah. I would always put doors at level 2 and then station a crew member if I had an extra one in the door room because that would boost their level by 1. Mm-hmm. Nobody's getting through those doors. No fire, no crew, nothing. Did you have a specific setup that you usually started with and tried to... you said you tried to get to cloaking by the end, but...
Yeah, I usually go between a few different ships. I do like the standard crystal. Going with that. The A variant, if I recall correctly. I didn't really care for the lance that's on the B variant. I think it's on the B variant. There's just so much stuff that, it gets muddled around in my mind, and I probably didn't play it as much as I should have for the game club.
Yeah.
But I also had my opinions already, so it felt like kind of a waste of time. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I got you.
But usually I go pretty heavily shields early on and build up my defenses so I'm not just getting wrecked in the early rounds. Because that's where you lose a lot, is that the first few jumps could really set the tone of things. And I think that's also something that kind of bugs me with the game as well, is that the game is essentially a slugging match between two spaceships. You have really no way of doing any defensive maneuvers whatsoever. You're just sitting there. Yes, you can build up your dodge rating by boosting up your engines and having cloaking, which that's what the cloaking really is just a huge boost to your evasion percentage.
Yeah.
But there's no way to really do that otherwise. And so you're just sitting there hammering on one another, and you need to either have a fast enough weapon to be able to knock out their weapons beforehand, have the weapon pre-ignite or augment, which means that you come into battle.
Expensive.
Yeah, but you come into battle with your weapons primed and ready to go. So, it's there's a good reason for it to be expensive. Let's put it this way. It's expensive as hell, but it saves you so much money because you're able to come in, knock out their shields and knock out their weapons pretty much instantly without taking a shot.
Yeah.
And that's really where it comes down at, is if you're able to avoid taking damage, and there's only a few ways of doing that. Otherwise, you're just standing there hammering one another until one ship goes down, and it's usually their ship because you simply have more health than most of the others.
Yeah. My strategy was always just shields, particularly early on shields.
Yeah, I would work up to about level 2, level 3 shields. Granted, it really depends on the ship because some of them are more based on disabling.
Right. But, get at least level 2 shields, ASAP, and then maybe level 3, depending on how my run was going and what other areas I was getting into.
Yeah, well, level 3, I would usually get by the 3rd or 4th sector. It really depends on what weapons I get. If I got a good weapon that requires a lot of power, like my last run, I got a pike beam fairly early. So I built up my weapons in order to be able to use the pike beam.
Right.
Which is just an absolutely devastating weapon if you can get their shields down for a moment.
I actually really liked using teleportation. So either teleportation weapons that would drop bombs directly inside the ship, or teleporting crew over. That's actually a lot of fun.
You'd love the banished ships if you don't have them unlocked.
I do have the Mantis cruiser. Let's see, the ships that I have are the Kestrel cruiser, which is the default.
Only one I don't have is the Crystal ship.
I've got several I don't have. I don't have a Federation
mostly
cruiser.
Because the Crystal ship, at least up until the Advanced Edition, they actually changed it where you could eventually get it otherwise, is a huge luck-based mission.
Yeah, I had the Kestrel, the starting ship, the Ingi cruiser, which is the one that starts droid-based. I had the Mantis cruiser, the Slug cruiser, and the Rock cruiser, but I didn't have any of the rest of them.
Yeah, well, I have all the ones except the Crystal A variant, and I have most of the B variants. The NG B variant is actually really interesting. It's anti-personnel.
Yeah. I actually really like the Ingi cruiser. I like drones.
At least I think I was running the NG cruiser. I'm pretty sure I was.
Yeah, I like drones, and I like the fact that it starts out being focused on disabling, which I think is fun. Like, it's just a different way to play the game, because you can disable a ship and kill the crew without having to actually damage the ship, which, if you're able to, quote-unquote, capture ships, you get a lot better rewards than destroying them.
Yeah.
And it takes a little extra time, but the fleet doesn't progress. Like, it only progresses when you jump systems.
Yeah.
Right. So you can take your time on battles. The only problem with that is that if you wind up in an asteroid field or next to a star where that you have to deal with solar flares and stuff, that can really drain away at you. But
yeah, but if you have your shields with a level or two, you could actually use the asteroid field to your advantage, which is interesting.
Yeah, I would do that, actually. Level 2 shields I think a level 1 shield, as long as you take out their weapons, a level 1 shield with a crew member giving them the shield regeneration boost will keep you safe in an asteroid field. Otherwise, level 2 shields. And you just knock out their shields and let the asteroids
the reason
destroy
why I
the
was saying
ship.
level 2 is that it leaves one level of shield for them to hammer away on.
Right.
Granted, there is a little bit of randomness on the how often the asteroids comes in, so you will see occasionally an asteroid to get past just one level of shield as well.
Yeah. Or, sometimes asteroids will miss as well. And that could be detrimental to you if you're relying on them to destroy stuff. But, I mean, that works really well with the Ingi if you haven't done much to change the ship. Because their level 1 drone that it starts with is pretty weak. Even at the beginning, it's pretty weak.
Yeah.
So, using the environment to your advantage is nice. Are you a clone bay or a med bay person?
Med bay.
I'm clone bay.
Well, let's put it this way, is that the level 1 med bay, the regen on it is enough that it could counteract suffocation.
Right.
So, if I'm getting boarded, I keep the cockpit door locked, the med bay's doors locked, and open up all the rest.
Yeah.
And once they open up the med bay, which is where they usually go anyway, the air rushing out from there, the med bay is able to keep my team alive.
Yeah. I don't like to move my crew around. Because I'm very much like, okay, you do this and you do this and you stay in this room and you get all of that crew experience that you can. And so the clone bay really helps with that, because if your crew dies, they just come back to life. And then you can hit the little button that sends them back to their saved positions and you're good to go.
Yeah, I imagine that goes a lot better with random events.
Yeah. Yeah, every time a crew dies from a random event, they will come back in the clone bay, which is really helpful because it allows you to take a lot more chances.
Yeah.
Because, if you've got like 2 or 3 crew and you get like the spider event, for example, is there a positive out?
I think there is. The thing outcome? Is that the different events have different weights on how likely you are to succeed.
Right.
So some of them, it is very rare for you to succeed.
Right. But you can do things like that and, hope for a good success or a positive outcome. Or, whenever there's a ship that needs help or whatever and you do the little event, if crew get killed, they just regenerate back in your clone bay and you're fine. So, you can I got quite a few extra rewards doing that. Because you literally have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see what the spider event, the bonus for it is, or the success. Let's see. It looks like you get a high amount of scrap out of it.
Okay. I don't think I've ever gotten that. But, it's okay. Usually either the spiders kill someone or we just run away. That's what happens every time. One of those two things.
Yeah, and also it looks like if you lose a member with the clone bay installed to the spider event, they have some skill loss as well.
I did not realize that they had skill loss, but
I'm not sure if the clone bay always does that or if it's just that one event.
It doesn't normally, because when a crew dies, you can see their skills. They don't go down.
It's probably to counteract, there's no downside to having the clone bay.
Yeah, it might do that for other events as well. I honestly didn't notice. Because I was like, I don't care. I'll do this. If they die, they'll respawn. How did you generally play? So I'm thinking I think Kyle says this, that the game has no morality system, even though the choices, have kind of good, bad, whatever connotations attached to them.
You mean if I was a complete jackass or...
Yeah. How did you play through?
I would say gray area. It really depended on my current situation.
Yeah. I guess I kind of did the same thing, but my thought was strict survivalist. So,
yeah,
I would do whatever had the best chance of giving me things that I needed to keep going.
Yeah, I was a little bit better about it, but then again, a lot of the things that I ended up getting was, fight a ship for some extra scrap that I could just overpower, because at that point I had 3-level shields and I had the breach bomb, I had a pike beam, I had a chain laser, which is just awesome, and a dual laser.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chain laser, that's something out of the advanced edition as well.
I don't think I ever got the chain laser.
Oh, you'd love it. It starts off charging slowly, but every shot, it starts charging faster and faster until it hits its cap.
Wow. Yeah, that would be handy.
So that initial hit, basically what I was doing was, assuming I had plenty of missiles for it, because that's what the breach bomb uses, it's a teleportation thing. I would send a breach bomb into usually their shield room, and then use the dual laser and the chain laser to send a volley into the shield room as well to completely drop their shields. And then the next volley with the dual lasers would usually go to their weapon room. Or drone bay, depending on what they were having.
Yeah.
But I didn't really hit anyone that had a lot of nasty drones.
Yeah. I don't think I ran into very many drone ships. Usually the NPCs would have the defense drones to
Yeah.
guard against missiles.
Yeah, but I was just teleporting.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
worst thing about that is running into a Zoltan ship because they have that super shield. Or did you run into them?
I've had Zoltan crew, but I've never actually fought a Zoltan ship, I don't think.
Okay, their big thing is that they have what's called a super shield. It's a secondary shield that goes over the primary shield that has to be damaged, and you could not. And it also absorbs missiles. It absorbs things being teleported. You can't teleport past it until that super shield's brought down, but it doesn't recharge. And the Zoltan ship, it recharges for every battle. So it's a lot more tanky.
Yeah. I like having the Zoltan crew because they self-power the room that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah, they're a walking battery. But downside to them is, did you ever have one die?
No. I've never had a Zoltan die.
Explode.
Oh, fun. Yeah, the only times I've had Zoltan die is when my ship has been blown up, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I've had them chain explode on me before. One would die and take down the next, then take down the next. Not fun.
I'm looking at the different races on the wiki. I've had all of them as crew except for Crystal and the Lanius, which are the advanced
guys,
aliens. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the Lanius as a random event.
I fought a bunch of them as random encounters, like get to a planet. Or I got to a sector that was under siege by them. And so everywhere I went, like every jump, there would be a planet or a space station or something. Okay. It's like, the Lanius are attacking this place. What do you want to do? And I just, I fought them every time because it was worth tons of rewards.
Okay, here's one for you. Do you think this game is more skill-based or luck-based? I'm going to say that it comes down more to how lucky you are than how skilled you are to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think...
Once you hit a certain plateau on skill, it comes down to just, okay, are you going to get dicked over and lose your best couple of crew just to random events?
Yeah. I would say that it's more luck-based than skill-based. I mean, obviously a certain amount of skill can mitigate bad luck, and making good decisions can help, but...
Yeah, but when I compare it to other roguelites, this is a lot more luck-based because you can overcome bad runs and something like Binding of Isaac with just pure skill.
Right.
Yeah, you don't get enough strength ups, for example, or damage ups in Binding of Isaac. It's still essentially a bullet hell game or a shoot 'em up game, depending on the boss encounter that you're doing. So you're still able to overcome it. It's just really speeding up the events. And this, there's no way to really speed up things. It's still that slugging match between your ship and theirs. And if you don't have the power, you are just going to be in these slugging matches a lot more and a lot longer. And that's going to make it so that you're going to have to spend more of your scrap to repair your ship. And if you're having bad luck and not getting the scrap, it's game over. And there's really nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. What's the game that... It's been a few months, actually. You might not remember either. It's a sort of vehicle land-based version of FTL. Convoy is, I feel, a lot less luck-based. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it seemed... granted, I haven't played it yet. I think it still does the same thing like FTL. It does where it has that end boss.
Yeah, it does. The end boss is freaking tough. But I beat him.
FTL kind of... pioneered the idea of having a smooth difficulty curve and then having this wall boss, which I absolutely loathe this design decision.
Yeah, Convoy though, the major difference between Convoy and FTL in terms of gameplay mechanics, and which is where I think FTL suffers, is that Convoy, I mean, you can receive a huge boost from a lucky event, but it's actually very difficult to completely lose based on bad luck. It has sort of
It seems like it's more active in its combat. You have a more active role.
yeah, it's a lot more active in its combat.
You're not just sitting there waiting for the bars, unless you're moving your crew around, which you weren't. And honestly, that seems like the best way to do it. Have a certain crew that's good at certain things, and then maybe look in stores for skilled crew members. Especially repair. If you're avoiding enough damage, you're not going to have anyone that's really skilled in repair, and that's actually going to hurt you against the final boss. Which is kind of ironic, isn't it? You do too well, and you're penalized against the final boss because you don't have anyone that's skilled up in repair.
Right. Well, the point that I was going to make with Convoy, though, compared to FTL, is that Convoy has got a much smoother, less urgent progression. I mean, the combat is more active in Convoy than it is in FTL, but Convoy has got a set story with goals you're trying to accomplish every time. Whereas FTL, you're just like, all right, if I need to hit as many systems as possible, but I gotta keep moving in FTL.
It's a platformer thing where you're just trying to get to the end of the level, essentially.
Right, and in Convoy, you can take your time, you can explore around. Even if you run out of fuel, in FTL, when you run out of fuel, game over. But
you turned on the distress beacon and hope. What, you never ran out of fuel in FTL?
No, I've ran out of fuel in FTL. I didn't turn on the distress beacon.
I turned on the distress beacon, and I have been able to get someone to sell me fuel.
Is that a manual thing or is it automatic? Because in my runs, I've only run out of fuel once.
You're given an option to turn on the distress beacon.
I did not receive the option to turn on the distress beacon. The one time I ran out of fuel, because either I get killed, that's how it goes. I always get killed. Except for once, I ran out of fuel. But it didn't give me an option to turn on the
I think it's on beacon. The same window that says wait. It's on the map, actually. It's the distress beacon's on the map.
Oh, I didn't go back to the map. I was just sitting in my ship. Because I got a thing that it was like, oh, we ran out of fuel. I guess we're screwed. And paraphrasing. But I was like, well, I guess we're screwed. I guess I'll start over. I did not know you could turn on the distress beacon.
Yeah, you could turn on the distress beacon and... it says emergency beacon on the map, and you wait, and the rebel fleet advances one step.
I got you.
And I think it's pretty much guaranteed that you can get a fuel ship to show up after a couple rounds.
Right. Well, Convoy does the same thing, but you also can specifically request help from your crashed ship. Because, Convoy, your ship crashes, and you're trying to get parts to repair it so you can get off the planet. And you can request that your crew comes to help you, and you can do that once, and then after that it's random. But it's really, really, really hard to lose in Convoy to bad luck. It can happen, but it's rare. Normally when you lose in Convoy, it's because you screwed up and got yourself killed in combat.
Yeah.
Which I like. I don't like feeling like, I get a bad roll, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm not that's gambling. How it feels in FTL. Granted, I should say that I don't like games that it's down to luck and just that's it. You don't have anything to try to modify that or try to mitigate your risks. It's like Blood Bowl, for example. All of it for Blood Bowl is rolling dice. It is very luck based. But it also comes down to how you built your team, your skills, and also the order of operations. What roles are you taking first? Because if you're taking the less dangerous ones, then you have a greater chance of succeeding to complete your turn. But you also have your reroll. You usually have at least one or two for a half. So it's even down to that. You have to be very unlucky to just completely miss out on a turn.
Right.
And FTL, there's none of those mechanics. It's just, here's an event that Well, the FTL subreddit actually has people that's lost on the first jump to a random event that took out their one crew member. I mean,
Yeah.
that should tell you that, pretty much everything's on the table at all times.
I've never lost on the first turn, but I have lost before I've made it out of the first sector. Because of the same sort of thing. Just like you go somewhere and it's like, oh, well, there's a crew member dead. Oh, there's another crew member dead.
Oh, look at that. Another crew member dead. Oh, wait, you're out of crew
That's
members.
it. I'm out of crew.
How unfortunate. You lose.
Yeah.
Do you think FTL would have done better? We're ragging on FTL quite a bit, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
I should say that I do like the game overall. It's just I have problems with it. Do you think FTL would have done better with, instead of having the random events, have a storyteller where it tries to tell a particular story up to a certain point? Something like, well, the storyteller aspect really comes from Left 4 Dead, but I've been doing a lot of RimWorld, and it tries to make it so that you always have a certain number of colonists. It always tries to make sure that your food level doesn't dip too low because you got dicked over by events. It tries to balance things out, at least to some degree, so it comes down to more your skill. Do you think FTL should have had something like that?
I would like that to be an option in FTL. Like,
the lower difficulties have enables the storyteller or makes the storyteller more generous.
Yeah. That would be nice. That would definitely be nice because, like you said, it would be a nice balancing mechanic that would help you learn your way through the game and unlock some of the other ships.
Yeah, like in RimWorld, if you're down to one or two colonists, your events become weighted so that events that give you colonists become more likely. And even merchants are more likely to have slaves, so you could just buy colonists that way.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good bouncing mechanic that FTL could have really benefited from.
Yeah. That would be nice, actually. I didn't even think about having a balancing mechanic. Overall, do you like FTL?
I do like FTL. I think I would have liked it better with some changes, particularly the final boss. Just have it where it's not a complete cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, even the final sector, it is tough, but it's doable. Usually.
Yeah.
Usually, if you could get there, unless you're doing a complete stealth run with the stealth cruiser, then you should be able to have a success in the final area, except for the final boss itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, for me, overall, I like the game. Where it's not typically the type of game that I would like. I'm not the biggest fan of roguelites because of the randomness and stuff like that, but I do like FTL, and I think for me, a lot of it's the theme. Like, I love spaceships and space stuff, so that goes a long way for me. Yeah, it goes pew pew. Pew pew. So, yeah, overall, I like FTL. And is FTL the first, really mechanics-based game that we've had? It is, right?
Kinda, but in a way, not really as well. Because we've had MechWarrior, and that was very mechanics-based. Papers, Please, that was also very mechanics-based.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Well, FTL is definitely my favorite one of the mechanics-based games so far. So I will offer you a choice. We can read the text letters right now, or I can record myself reading them and edit it in later.
Well, is there anything that you really want to talk about from the text letters?
Not really. We covered all the points that I was going to talk about. I was thinking about them as we were talking, and so I brought them up.
Yeah, let's give you some more work then.
Okay, I'll do
because
it tomorrow.
A lot of this is what we've already talked about. And
Okay.
I think pretty much everybody disagrees with having that end boss.
Yeah.
But I mean, just a quick, the opening line from Chemis's letter. Greetings everyone, Chemis here. FTL is a cunt.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, I will record myself doing that tomorrow, and then they will all be edited in right now.
And I'll be brief about it. I loved FTL. It's not a game that I can spend a whole lot of time playing because it does kind of get repetitive. And there are times when I have gotten so close to beating the game altogether, and things just go horribly wrong last minute, and I rage quit for a while and don't pick it up for a good 6 months or so. But I've played it off and on for about 4 years now. Last weekend was the very first time ever that I have ever defeated. Well, I'm guessing there's spoilers by now. Defeated the final mothership. It was a crazy epic fight, and for a while I thought it was, up until the boss fight, I figured I wasn't going to make it. All the way through like zones 4 through 7, I almost died several times because I was running the NG cruiser, full of an NG crew, minus one human. I think it had a Zoltan, if I remember right. And it was the third variant, which starts you off with pretty much just all ion weapons and drones. Well, I slowly morphed the weaponry into some pretty heavy-hitting stuff, along with the hacking module. And my problem I was running into was my damage output couldn't meet the amount of regenning that enemy ships could do. So for several zones, I ended up, the only way I could fight was store up all the shots that I could possibly get, send the hacker to the shield, hack the shield, and as it lost a point or two, blast it with everything I had to get rid of the shields. That would even take a couple volleys before I could finally start hitting other pieces. All the while I'm getting hammered with my one shield because I was upgrading everything else. So yeah, up until like zone 8 was when I finally was able to reinforce everything and come up with a fairly decent crew. It wasn't pretty by the time I got to the mothership. The clone bay got overloaded with, well, I had a couple guys in the queue when a missile attack blew up the clone bay, and there was 4 enemy borders right in that little area that I couldn't get to. I couldn't repair the clone bay in time, so I lost the 2 people in the queue. 2 more people died while the fight was going on, but in the end, interestingly enough, I managed to kill everybody from the mothership because they sent 2 whole crews over, and they're all right in the middle. Funny thing, if you have I can't remember the name of the alien, but the one that sucks all the air out of the room, if you have him fighting the borders, along with venting all of the air out of the ship, except for the few rooms that my air breathers are actually at. Yeah, it does a really good job of taking out the whole boarding crew. After that, it was pretty cakewalk trying to finish it, but like I said, with as many guys as I lost, I was pretty worried that I wasn't going to make it, but in the end, it was victorious. So there's my FTL story. I give it, what kind of a scale can I use? We're gonna go with 8.5 out of 10 jump drives, just because of the fact that it's not something that will keep me engaged for hours and hours on end, but it is fun when I do play it. And it can get slightly repetitive sometimes, but it is a fun little story, and probably one that I will eventually take to and maybe do a recording or 2 of. And shoot, now I'm unprepared. I'll send a tweet about this later on. once I figure out the name of it. But anybody's interested, there is a funny little series on YouTube about a group of guys that they basically played through an entire FTL story, from start to finish, and they chronicled their entire adventure and made it into a cartoon. So all of the weird little happenings in the cartoon are scripted from the little happenings that go on in the game. The random encounters of ships that show up and hail you with some kind of a one-liner or whatever. It's just out of the game. And it's a fun little story, interesting one to listen to. And I'm starting to walk along the main road that has vehicles running around it, and I'm not anywhere close to home yet, and I still have to do my other recording. So I'm going to finish this up and call it a day, and I will listen to the podcast later, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Greetings, gents. You guys were saying that you did not get enough text letters, so I decided to remedy this situation. It was implied on Twitter that I may have the best words, so I'm setting out to prove this and perhaps illuminate my thoughts on this week's Game Club game, FTL. That having been said, let's fucking do English done good, bruh. So FTL is a fantastic example of emergent gameplay through the means of having minimal scripted narrative while still leaving the player to experience their own personal journey. The loose story arc is that the player is bequeathed with a message of imminent rebellion against the federal space government. The wrinkle is that, for some mysterious reason, this missive can't be transmitted more expeditiously than having the player act as a carrier. Through the course of each playthrough, the player starts with a ship, crew, a few armaments. From these humble beginnings, the player must navigate from FTL beacon to FTL beacon and outrun the approaching rebel armada. By doing so, the player is presented with opportunities at each FTL beacon, such as some diplomatic, some aggressive. Immediately, the point that I find to be praiseworthy is that there's no morality system in the game. Helping someone out, ignoring the plight of citizens living under the government that you represent, and overly belligerent tactics are all tools in the player's vocabulary. Ultimately, the game is about progress towards the end goal of warning the imminent advance of the rebel fleet. From this lack of moral dichotomy, the player is free to pursue their own story within the more overarching narrative of informing high command of the rebel threat. Given that this is a game intended to be played multiple times through and exploring all of the different branches of story is expected, not punishing the player for pragmatism, benevolence, or maliciousness is a stroke of inspired genius on the part of the designers. That having been said, the main storyline is never lost, so pressing this antagonistic mass of metal and men, and aliens, and lasers, and missiles, and drones that lingering too long in a sector or beacon could result in the player's vessel being overtaken by the rebels. While fleeing is always an option, careful resource management can help to alleviate most of the strategic risk. For example, running out of fuel can allow the rebels to converge on your position and jeopardize the mission. Often the player is left to make difficult tactical and strategic choices in the face of informational uncertainty. In doing so, this is one of the best games that I've experienced that presents the burden of leadership so bluntly. In order to finish the mission, a player must balance ammunition, weapons, upgrades, currency, and fuel. Ignoring even one aspect of the tactical and strategic gameplay can, and often does, lead to disaster to the point of needing to restart the game from the beginning. As far as in-game controls are concerned, the game is split between a point-and-click interface for the story elements and navigation, which have no time limit associated with them, and frantic cell-based combat. The combat can be best described as a real-time/turn-based system. All combat events happen in real time, but the player is free to pause the action at any time in order to make decisions and target the cells on either the enemy ship or their own. By merging the tactical thoughtfulness of turn-based gameplay and the panic rush of real-time gameplay, the player should never feel overwhelmed nor completely in control of the situation. This balance between chaos and control is critical, as I believe it leads to the game's overall feel of immersion. Immersive is perhaps the best way to describe FTL. I am of the opinion that this is what sets it apart from other roguelites I've played, gotten bored with, and probably forgotten about. The fact that each playthrough is genuinely a new experience is what makes the core game so strong. The addition of a new race and some new mechanics helped out the game in FTL Advanced Edition. However, ultimately, it's still the same base experience. It's not a bad thing. The base experience is fantastic and long-lasting, so just adding more of it was the right move. A final note, and this is yet to be adequately explained to me, I'm not sure how big the Rebel fleet is. That might sound like a petty gripe, and it is, but my point is that the Rebels are advancing at an alarming pace. If they are believably conquering world after world, system after system, Remember, the game takes place basically in real time, minus tactical use of the spacebar, and the rebellion is basically overthrowing an entire galactic government in 40 to 60 minutes. Mind, they are an armada, and they would need to win every battle and conquer every place they pass in order to keep advancing. Even assuming that the entire armada moves through each sector in totality, they would be unable to maintain a sizable advancing force while still holding the captured territory, which raises the question, how fucking big is this fleet? I understand that this is an incredibly minor and tangential point to be fixated on, but it is the sort of thing that when somebody points it out, it tends to occupy at least a minor space in your consciousness while you're experiencing FTL. Grandiose musings aside, FTL is a good game and worthy of a solid recommendation. Seriously though, that end boss can go get fucked. From the desk of the best wordsmith, Captain Kyle J. Bartosik. Greetings everybody, Chemist here again. FTL is a cunt. Let's just get that out of the way. Now this might be because of decades of sci-fi shows, but there's something really satisfying about redirecting power between systems. I'm always disappointed when I have more power than needed. Once humanity starts conquering the stars and space battles will become a reality, I better hope so no one over-engineers their reactor. That's just boring. It may also be why manual transmission cars are still more popular in Europe. It just feels better to have more control over your vehicle. So the first couple of runs went just as expected. I rarely got to the second sector, often getting murderized after the first jump, overrun by Mantis, or suffocating after a barrage of breach missiles skewered my oxygen supply. Grumpy, I settled for easy mode, and even though it is definitely more doable, I still struggle at the final boss. That may have been because I misremembered plenty of minute details, such as the fact that beam weapons are useless before you drop the shields, or how you shouldn't fire weapons as soon as they're charged, but prepare synchronized barrages instead. Or how opening all doors after a breach to equalize oxygen levels while they're already open will vent your whole ship. Or how the game intentionally abuses your expectations of, last 9 times I went after giant spiders, it didn't go so well, so there must be a crazy good rare outcome this time. I spent some time on the wiki reading about various technical specs to find different combos. I figured out that temporarily disabling the shields with missiles and lasers, or ion, then carefully aiming a beam weapon through 4 to 6 rooms is absurdly good. To the point where I get lucky and find a weapon pre-igniter, I can just put everything on auto fire and go make tea or a sandwich. Sure, that couple of minutes later they'll be dead with me barely taking a hit. This worked all the way to Sector 7, with occasional close calls when I come back to find my O2 supply has taken a hit. Well, if I can take out most ships before they can even charge their weapons, that means the flagship is going to be a breeze. Not exactly. Despite its bulk, the flagship has an impressive dodge rate, so most of my initial barrage shot wide, and whatever didn't was picked up by Mark II defense drones. If I somehow got lucky and got to the second stage, the onslaught of lasers, beam, and boarding drones meant I was down before I could even knock off one whole point of the flagship. That got me thinking. If most of my issues were caused by drones, why don't I just use them myself? Previously, I didn't even bother most of the time because drones used up resources, were much weaker than their stationary weapon counterparts, and you couldn't even aim them. The only one I found useful was the defense drone, which reliably stopped missiles that ignored shields, but as my last run, I picked the Ingi ship, unlocked a couple of years back by me somehow lucking out on the flagship, and got to work. Interestingly, I found having to manage drones much more enjoyable than expected. I've previously stated that there's something strangely appealing about distributing power between systems. Having to choose which drone to send was another layer of complexity on top of that. For the most part, I've sent defense drones out to protect me from missiles and asteroid fields, or beam drones if I need a little bit more firepower, otherwise saving the drone parts for later. Around the halfway mark, after completing my crew roster with a couple of Zoltans, Mantis, and Rock, I come across a store with the crew teleporter, and it suddenly hit me. The flagship's weapons rooms were completely isolated from the rest of the ship, so sending anyone somewhat competent in combat will slowly but surely permanently disable said weapons with near 100% reliability. Running Ingi ships also gave me the hacking drone for isolating arbitrary rooms and clone bay, so I didn't really have to worry about ever getting my crew back. Worst case, I regrew them in the vat. Look at the man you made me become, game. So I get to the flagship fight once more, and I'm shocked my strategy actually works. One party takes down the most dangerous missile launcher, the other puts the lasers back to rest. With only ion and beams, the flagship has next to no means of dealing damage to me. Just to be on the safe side, I destroy the beam and finish the ship with an assault on the bridge to negate their dodging ability. Then chain missile their shields, giving me an easy win. Second stage was not that much more difficult, though boarding drones and mind control certainly gave me some trouble. Luckily, for whatever reason, they decided to hack my sensors, so I didn't even have to bother dealing with that. It was laughable seeing how every power surge sent out 6 attack drones only for me to hack them for the entirety of the event. Going into stage 3, I knew I was in trouble. The whole strategy of using teleporter all the time was not going to work against Zoltan's shield interference, so I did the only reasonable I did the only thing reasonable after realizing I should probably change my plan. I committed to it 100%. I equipped a bunch of beam weapons and drones, which couldn't do much against regular shields, but were very good at disabling Zoltan shields. So nothing really changed, except that I had no usable weapons for the majority of the fight, having learned from my previous mistakes. I was no longer sending out my crew in pairs, spreading them out instead, so that if one of them got mind-controlled, they didn't inhibit the rest of the team. I also lucked out by having my boarding drone hit the mind control room, so this was not a concern for much longer. Hacking drone to the shields, sabotage most of the defense systems, and suddenly their hulls going down. I was in fact so good that I received a pop-up saying that the enemy crew is dead and that an AI has taken over, which was in fact bad news, since AI-controlled ships slowly repair all systems regardless of their reachability, in this case the much-dreaded missile cannon. It all came down to the wire, both of us with neither dodge nor defense capabilities, down to just a few hull points, missiles pixels away, shields useless. I told you this is going to be my last run, and I kept my promise. You might have seen me ranting on Twitter saying I'm done with FTL, and this is indeed the truth. I do not plan to take it up again for at least a couple of weeks, and when I do, I have a brand new Federation ship to take for a spin. Kimis, signing off. Alright, is the voting now, or were you going to read the tweets?
Well, we do have tweets, since they do reflect FTL as well.
Okay, go ahead and toss those in there.
All right, we're going to split up the tweets and do the FTL related ones just to kind of, split things up because, yeah, we had most of the tweets actually were FTL related, which it's interesting to see FTL be this talkative. Let's see, Kimis. Fuck you, FTL. Perfect run up to the last mission. Got all my oxygen drained in seconds by a hacking drone and several breaches. Groove, just hold your breath, easy as pie. Camus, I evacuated everyone alive to the med bay, which at first level heals as fast as you suffocate, but then they got missiled. Groove, ouch, that's bad luck, man. God, massive bummer, dude. Chemist, tomorrow I'm trying again. This time, I'm upping the difficulty to normal and getting drunk beforehand. Chemist, day 2. FTL is still a cunt. Gave up on normal difficulty, got to membership, and still killed me easily. Send more alcohol. Chemist, day 3. I'm done with this game.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's all the tweets for FTL. I just seeing the progression of Chemist and the opening to his letter. I don't think he liked the game. Did he get that? Did he say that the letter? Did he like it or not?
No, Chemist likes it. But I think I get the impression that it was kind of
Love-hate?
A love-hate thing. Like, he really enjoys the challenge and likes the mechanical aspect of it, but gets frustrated by sort of the random aspect and how just brutally difficult it can be.
The random aspect, and there's nothing that you could do about it.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even mention that the stores could absolutely dick you over as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they could never sell you.
Scores.
Yeah, they could never sell you some needed items. I've had runs where I've never saw the cloaking device.
Yeah. I've had plenty of runs where I get to a store and it's like, you have nothing that would help me at all.
Best you could do is just repair the ship and go on.
Yep. Okay. Well, then, are you ready to move on to the voting?
Yes. And this has been a good voting. Before the voting, we have to do what the game is for next month.
Right.
And this came down to the wire.
I'm going to pull up the list right now.
Yeah, we usually have a fairly clear winner about halfway through the voting. This time, it was still within striking distance, even as we started to record, which it was just exciting. I was expecting this to be a blowout, personally. What about you?
I figured it would be pretty close between Life is Strange and one of the other two. I just wasn't sure which one.
Yeah. So let's go down the list. Third place, Katawa Sojo at 7 votes. Life is Strange at 9 votes, which brings us to our winner. If My Heart Had Wings at 11, which that and Life is Strange was tied several times, or was within one vote of one another.
And Life is Strange started out ahead.
Yeah.
But If My Heart Had Wings, comeback kid for the victory. We're going to spend a long time in this visual novel, though. I'm really happy, though. I mean, I said I wanted If My Heart Had Wings to win, and then I would be like most happy with Life is Strange as the other winner. But even if Katawa Shoujo had won, I'd have been very happy with that, too. Like, all of these games are interesting to me, so honestly, anything's a win. So next, for February, we'll be playing If My Heart Had Wings.
Yeah, and we'll be getting that content restoration pack up and running.
Absolutely.
So, time for our new voting.
Correctamundo.
And this is going to be another fun one.
Yeah, so we decided to keep going with the themes.
At least for now.
Yeah, because the themes help guide our decision. And we went with a pretty broad theme this time. Strategy games.
Yeah,
so, and we hit kind of a spread.
I think we both kind of cheated on this.
Did we?
Because I felt like my choice was a kind of pushing the boundaries of what the theme is. My choice is Cities Skylines.
Why do you think that's pushing the boundaries? Well, I mean, city builder games are all about strategy and planning.
I was thinking strategy more as in a warfare game.
See, you were thinking inside the box.
Yeah, well, yours is closer to that than mine is.
Yeah, mine is Factorio.
And then we're both in the box for the shared pick,
Valkyria Chronicles.
Which Valkyria Chronicles is also an interesting choice because it also has a companion anime that, from what I could tell, I haven't watched it yet, follows the main plot of the game. So if you don't want to play the game but want to get the plot in, you could watch a 26 episode anime and be up to date on it. And that should get you through on Game Club. And I think if we pick this, I should say if the community picks Valkyria Chronicles, I think we should watch the anime as well.
Oh, I was going to. I mean, I'm probably going to finish Valkyria Chronicles in the next month anyways, regardless of whether or not it wins Game Club, just because I'm like halfway through it already. So,
yeah,
but, I mean, I'll stop talking about it.
Yeah, I'm going to focus on getting through If My Heart Had Wings, because that's a fairly decent-sized novel.
That's true. That's true.
And also, I probably want to go through more than one branch.
Yeah.
How should we divvy up that? Or should we just play blinded from one another and see if we get diverging paths?
We should play completely blind from one another and just see how it goes. Because, I mean, there'll be some commonalities we can discuss anyways.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about where our storylines went in different directions. And I'm going to try and play it and get it all done the week before our recording, so that in case we need to talk about anything before and go back and check anything out, I have enough time to do so. I mean,
I'm planning on playing this over the course of the month.
Well, I mean, I'm going to spread it out across like 2 or 3 weeks, but I would like to have it done with enough time where I could go back and do something if I need to. I mean, we'll see. This is probably going to be the only game outside of mobile games that I play this month. And, stuff that we're not doing on stream.
Yeah.
Just because it is a really big game. But, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, so.
Yeah, but, I think we should talk about our individual picks a little bit more. City Skylines is my pick, mostly because I've never put enough time into it that I really wanted to. But from what I've played, it's essentially what I wanted the 2013 version of SimCity to be. But there's also how it diverges from the SimCity model, where a lot of it is more how you build the traffic system in the public transit instead of how you build the city itself, which is interesting. That, and also a lot of our people have this game.
Yeah. I I picked Factorio because
You're fucking obsessed with this game right now?
maybe a little bit, but I mean, I was trying to think for one pick. One of my picks, kind of I figured we would pick the one together would be a very traditional, like some sort of RTS or grand strategy game, something like that. And I mean, Valkyria Chronicles turn-based strategy. So I wanted to pick something that was a little bit outside the box.
Well,
and there's a
to be
ton
honest,
of
Valkyria
strategy.
Chronicles isn't exactly your bog standard strategy game to begin with.
No, that's true. But, Factorio, there's a lot of strategy and planning that goes into it, particularly if you're going to turn the level of aliens up so that there's more of them, so that they're a more constant threat that you're having to plan around.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I've played the game a ton, I tend to play with the aliens just kind of set to normal and tweak the difficulty more based on how many resources are present at the beginning. So it would be fun to like test out some of the other strategy elements of the game, like dealing with a more constant alien threat or things like that. And so I thought that would be an interesting challenge for myself and open up a new aspect of the game I hadn't played before. So that's why I went for Factorio as my choice.
That and you're fucking obsessed.
I am really obsessed with Factorio. I love it. My current play count for it is 163.9 hours.
Yeah, and mine is nowhere near that.
Yeah, it's
mine
like, I
is
think 10 or 15.
15.
Yeah. Is any of that idle time?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, none of mine is idle time either.
But I have none of the achievements. I haven't played since they put them in.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I picked Factorio. I don't know if it'll win. I don't even know if I want it to win. I don't know. It's weird. Like I'd like it to win and like play it purposefully in a different direction. But thinking about that makes me be like, I just want to go do that right now.
Yeah, but also, two other good picks.
Yeah, there are two other very good picks on there. My experience with City Skyline is very minimal because the first time I bought it, it didn't work.
Yeah,
issues with my system.
Well,
and
that's
the second
also
time I bought it, I've barely played it.
Yeah, that's also another reason why I picked it is that you hardly played it.
Which I get is another reason I thought about Factorio too. I was like, I know you have it, but you haven't played it very much, so I'll make you play it.
Oh boy.
If it wins. Okay. Well, that is the voting. The vote will go up. When do you post it? Right after we record, right?
Yeah, Wednesdays at noon. So
yeah.
it'll be live by the time even our cheeky little monkey could hear it.
Yep. So there you go.
Unless he's piecing together the raw audio tracks. If he is, then we need to talk because I think you're going a little too far.
All right. Well, I was pretty close to the time it was going to take us to do both of those in my head. A little bit short, but not much. That's okay, though. The recorded stuff will make up that time difference when I record the audio letters. I think Ghost is like 6 or 7 minutes long of FTL stuff. The other portion will show up in Community Corner.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yep, but for now, it's time to take a bathroom break and a drinks refill break. Because I've drained my coffee and my water again. And we're back, yes?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
Is this our right floor?
I think so. I guess we'll find out.
Well, let's get out of the elevator anyway. I farted in it.
God. Oh. It took us 50 episodes-ish to make a joke about the elevator music. A fart joke, nonetheless.
You're welcome.
Well done. Okay, well, let's move on to our first news topic.
Well, to be fair, I didn't even know that you were doing the elevator music for quite a while because I don't listen to the show because I'm on it.
It's very true. Anyways, our first news topic of this week, The Division gets microtransactions, which you might think, well, who cares? It's a Ubisoft AAA title, but they specifically said when the game launched that there would never be microtransactions. Everything would either be able to be obtained directly through the game using in-game currency or as part of major DLC packs, which you could purchase from Steam or Uplay or whatever. but they have added microtransactions. And they specifically state that there are certain things you can't get unless you buy the premium currency.
Yeah,
and there's no way to earn the premium currency. You have to buy it.
Yeah, this is just a huge dick move.
Yep.
But here's the thing. Is that where's the repercussions are going to be for this? Because let's be perfectly honest. Unless it's a rare case like Payday 2, people are just going to roll over and take it. Up until the point that people actively fight back and complain, it's going to happen time and time and time again.
Yeah. Before I ask this question or make this statement, I need to go check the Division's player numbers, at least according to Steam.
The Division's was way up for quite a while.
All right, so according to Steam, or Steam, what is it, Steam Spy?
Steam Chart is the one
Steam
I
Charts.
use.
There's 5,300 active players, and today's peak was 8,400. And obviously that wouldn't include people who have purchased the game through Uplay, and it doesn't include console numbers. But
yeah, well, what's really interesting is whenever you look at the 6-month number, because I believe that's the tail end of the launch kind of just dip. Then you can see the peaks for each of their major patches.
Yeah,
with a absolutely huge one in early to mid December, which was the survival patch, where they essentially put in a battle royale version of the game, but you can see it's tailed off as well.
Right. So the question that I have is that if or when these games get microtransactions, is it better for them to start that way or be like this? I'm excluding what they said for a minute. They said no microtransactions, and that's shitty. But let's just pretend they didn't say that for this argument.
Honestly, I think it's better to be completely upfront, because this feels like a dick move that, they lull people in saying, ignoring the fact that they said that there would be no microtransactions, but you'd go in, not see any microtransactions and think, great, a game that they're not going to completely ream me over. And then this happens.
Right. In the case where they said there wouldn't be microtransactions and now they are, I think that's bullshit, and that people should call them out for it and complain. Ghost, maybe you can tell us about that next week on the show, because I know that you have the Division and you quite like it, and none of the rest of us have it.
I played during the free weekend and found that one of the sections of the game just doesn't like AMD CPUs, and it's not even me exclusively having that problem. I've found multiple people saying the same thing.
Yeah. I think personally, though, back to the question that I asked, I think I like what they have done, excluding the fact that they said that they wouldn't. If they hadn't said anything about it and they're like, oh, hey, we want to continue to monetize the game, we're done releasing all of our major content patches, we're going to add microtransactions to the game for special cosmetic items or whatever, I don't think I have a problem with that.
It also really depends on what they're doing with the money, because that's the thing. If it's funding further development of smaller patches, then I have less of a problem with it. If they're using it to support their esports scene like Rocket League is, I have less of a problem with it. But if it's just, they're as a money generator and they're not really doing anything special with it, I have I have more of a problem with it than otherwise.
Yeah, well, I would assume that they would use money from microtransactions to keep the servers running and stuff like that, and fund other projects. But yeah, I don't. The way that I feel about this is, again, excluding the fact that they said that they wouldn't. I don't know why, but I feel like I have to keep saying that.
Because it's actually rare for a developer to come out and say there won't be microtransactions.
Yeah,
they'll say it. They'll be like Titanfall, where they'll say that all the maps will be free. That seems to be a trend that's gaining popularity, which I fully support, because selling map packs is utter bullshit.
Yeah, haven't they finished releasing all of their major
I'm
expansions that
actually
they
not
talked
sure
about.
on this.
Last Stand is the last one, the title of the last one. Survival was the one that came out a couple of months ago.
Do you think the problem lies in that they actually made this promise in the first place and they should have never done that?
I think that's a problem. I think that's the biggest problem, because if they had just said, oh, we're going to add microtransactions, we're done with development of the game, microtransactions are going to be for cosmetics, and we're going to use it to keep the servers online and potentially...
And small patches.
Yeah. I don't think anybody would care. They'd be like, oh, that's great. You know, the people who have come and gone in the game are obviously gone, and the people who are still around might want to, you know, buy some things and fund future development of the game. But they were like, nah, we're not going to do that. And then they did it. Like, that made it a big deal because they absolutely lied. And regardless of whether that decision was made a long time ago or spur of the moment or management changed or whatever, like, regardless, as a company, they said unequivocally there will be no microtransactions, and now they're there.
Yeah, and that's also where we're having a problem with this, is that you're not dealing with an individual here. You're not, having... Well, let's bring out the glue bottle. We're not dealing with Sean Murray lying. We're talking about a company, and a company can have management changes behind the scene that we don't know about. Matter of fact, that's exactly what happened to Payday 2, is that their publisher pushed the idea of having crates. And they were forced into it through their contracts, breaking the promise that they made originally.
Right.
And I could see still, I could understand their situation, but at the same time, you gave your word.
You know, and I think if there was a little more transparency too, like, I mean, this could just be them saying, nah, we're going to do microtransactions, nobody will care.
Yeah, true.
But if there was a little more transparency, like what you just said, like, look, we just had some contract changes, management changes, a buyout, whatever. And they're
we're
forcing
trying
us
to
to put
fight off this
microtransactions
hostile
in the game.
takeover.
Yeah. You know, but companies don't do transparency for the most part. Which,
that's really the realm of the indie scene still.
Yeah. So there's nothing that could even buy even a small amount of consumer goodwill. And, there are people out there who, regardless, would be like, no, you said it's not going to. So if there is, I'm going to boycott your game or say that it's shit or whatever. But, transparency and honesty goes a long way with buying consumer goodwill.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's two things that you really don't see in AAA gaming all that much. It's a lot of hype and bullshit.
Yep. So.
But, well, here's the rub, though. Hype and bullshit sells copies of games.
That's true.
Even games that are not very good. Transparency and honesty could actually hurt you, even if your game is decent. Because you say something that is happening behind the scenes, and maybe you're working on this feature of the game or something, and you're talking about it, and that it may or may not be there, but people are used to hearing all the hype, so they're saying, they're hearing you say, well, this might be in the game, but to them, they're hearing you say this will be in the game. So if you take this feature out, this hypothetical feature, it may piss off some people, even though you're trying to be transparent. It's just because people aren't used to the transparency. They don't know just how chaotic game development can be.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a certain level of transparency. I'm not necessarily saying that all game devs should tell us everything all the time, but...
Well, I was giving that as an example, like a major feature.
Right.
Pick anything that's missing from No Man's Sky. I mean, you have a hell of a list there. But a lot of that is, large enough to be able to say, you talk about it in the development phase if you're being even remotely transparent.
Yeah.
But the difference between No Man's Sky and being actually transparent and having, just fueling hype is that they actually talked about removing it instead of Sean Murray lying through his fucking teeth the entire time.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky is a good example of just, half transparency and half bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, poor No Man's Sky.
Well, would you rather us pick on our other whipping boys some more? Get Evolve out, Battle Stillborn?
It's been a while since we've made fun of them. Maybe later. We'll see what comes around in our discussion.
Well, I'm pretty sure they actually have less players in No Man's Sky now, just because the base building update just did wonders for their numbers.
Yeah.
And now you're looking No Man's Sky player numbers.
I am doing that right now.
I could hear you.
406 players right now, 719 today.
For No Man's Sky?
Yeah, for No Man's Sky.
Wow, it's a lot lower than I thought it would be. The base building helped their numbers for quite a while.
Yeah, they got a really big boost for a few weeks, and then it died off again.
I guess people realized, wow, there's still nothing here.
Evolve Stage 2, 165 active players, 422 today's peak.
Still more than I thought they had.
And Battleborn, there we go. One word, not two. Battleborn, wow, 225 active players, 375 today's peak.
Still less than No Man's Sky.
Yep.
I guess we're going to have to pick on Devolve and Battle Stillborn some.
Yeah.
What?
Just a little bit. Battle Stillborn.
Well, can you call it anything else?
Not that's funny that I can think of. Okay, let's move on to our next news topic. I'm pulling up the list.
Well, I can't call Evolve Intelligent Design because of how they tried to do DLC.
Evolve should have been free from the start.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to our next section of the podcast, Community Corner. We have got
half of
the
audio
other
letter.
half of Ghost's audio letter to play. So we'll have that, and then we'll be right back.
All right. Good afternoon, gentlemen. If I sound out of breath, it's because I am. Just got done running, and I might need to be spending a little more time than usual working on homework tonight, so I may not have time to record anything. So I'm going to knock it out now, just after my run, before my normal walking recording. I'll try to make it quick. So, here goes. Especially since it's been a few weeks, I probably would have a lot to say if I actually had notes for this, but I'm just going to go off of memory. And I just hit the wrong button on my headset. Okay, anyway, let's see. Let's start off with, let's go with last week's episode about are we too hard on AAA games? And my opinion on that's kind of yes, but it's no surprise to most of you who have heard me talk about it before, but I tend to put more of the blame on issues with the suits of the major corporations, EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, stuff like that. The people that are setting the timelines and, things have to be done by this point because that's what marketing says, and, our board of directors and blah, 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 yada, yada. Business stuff. Stuff I'm not fond of. But, are the execs solely at fault? No, not really. There is some to the designers and the creative types. There's some fault to go to them. Kind of going from my personal experience, the more people involved in a project, the longer it tends to take. Because all the hands doing things that someone may not know what the other's doing and working over each other or scream up other people's stuff, things like that. So, when you get these big, several hundred people big companies trying to crank out, huge sweeping, well, I can't even say that anymore, because as a single player gamer of games like Call of Duty and Battlefield and all them, I'm done buying those platforms, because I don't play the multiplayer and try and go for the 4-time prestige, 4-star general stuff or whatever. I don't know. I play for the single player, and when a campaign's done in about 10 hours, and I just paid $60 for a game, I only sunk $10 in, or 10 hours into. I mean, yeah, I'll play a little bit on multiplayer, but not enough to justify higher price tags like that before I get bored and do something else. Anyway, I'm rambling. Bottom line for the AAAs, I think that, yeah, we need to have some higher expectations for them to put out some decent stuff, but I see the reasons why things go to crap occasionally. Not fully justified. I'm not excusing the big devs, because I mean, heck, you brought up Stardew Valley. Look at what kind of a game that is. And yeah, it is a niche market, but the guy put out a very stable game on release that had just the right amount of features that people liked and enjoyed. I have yet to hear any really glaringly negative reviews about it. So, anyway, that's my wrap on that subject. You guys have been talking lately about music, and that's kind of one of my loves, one of my hobbies that I like getting to. I have quite the eclectic taste of music. Everything from classic swing, big band, old flapper music, all the way up through. There's a certain time when I'm not too fond of stuff. Some of it's kind of growing on me a little bit, classic rock, things like that. And even a little bit of hip hop, R&B, basically old 80s, 90s hip hop rap, where things actually made sense instead of just screaming about how much of a badass you are type thing. They pretty much said the same thing, but they're more articulate about it. Modern day rock, alternative type stuff. A little bit of everything. The reason I bring it up is I've decided that one of the first few games that I start recording for YouTube is going to be a game called Karma Code. I've talked to a couple people about it, so some of you might know about it, but it is essentially a rock opera, third-person puzzle platformer, where all the main characters, in fact, all the characters are voiced by and sung by some big names in the metal industry. Mainly gothic metal, like European heavy metal. But it's a pretty interesting, it's very, well, just like it says, it's very operatic. Flowing music, flowing lyrics. It's not necessarily lyrical or, rhythmic as modern, music is, but just a long flowing one line after another ballad. Pretty cool stuff. We'll see how well it goes, and we'll see whether or not I get copyright infringements on it, but I might have to look into that actually now that I think about it, just to make sure. I have seen playthroughs on YouTube already of it, so I'm guessing that it's okay. But anyway, that's one of the games I'm looking at running. Another one I'm planning on doing, and again, I've mentioned to some people, is a little game called Escape Velocity Nova. And that is probably the oldest, sort of. No, I can't say it's the oldest game in my collection. I do have some games that are older, but It is one of my earliest memories of gaming, back when I was gaming on the Mac in high school. The Escape Velocity series was at the time, a Mac-only game. It was a 2D top-down space combat game. Think of like Elite Dangerous or Freelancer in a 2D setting that you could actually land on planets and go around and just simply trade or do convoys and stuff like that, do commodities exchange. Or you could take the skies and be a pirate or naval officer and hunt down ne'er-do-wells. It was it's a really good little game. Simple graphics. Ooh, excuse me. There's a Taco Bell coming back up on my run. Never mind. Yeah, it's simple graphics, but it had an engaging story to it. The main campaign, there's 6 main campaigns. The storyline is all text-based, so it would be a lot of reading, but it's pretty well written, at least as far as I remember. I toyed around with it recently and didn't get too far into the story, but I do remember that it was, or from what I had been reading, it kind of holds up to the nostalgia, so I don't know, that's another one. I'm looking at probably doing a 3rd series, and these is going to be kind of like, I would love to be able to put out at least 3 videos a week, but with school and work and everything, it might be a little difficult while I keep up with all my other stuff I watch and listen to. I'm probably going to be starting to wean some of those things off, but anyway, not you guys. How could I give up VGL podcast? Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, my 3rd series. I would explain a little bit about it, but my time is almost up, and that is a story for another day. And if anybody knows anything about internet lore, specifically the storyteller, you might know who the storyteller is, would probably get a pretty good guess of what my 3rd game is probably going to be. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up with that for now. It's been several minutes. Where am I at here? 10 minutes, I think. My phone just blew up on me. Here we go. Yeah, a little over 10 minutes. All right. I'm going to call it because I just remembered I still have to record something for FTL.
All right. Thank you, Ghost Shark, for sending in an audio letter. You said in the email that we might need to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, a little trimming.
You did good with the editing. I just have to trim out a few bits, but don't worry about it. It's fine. That's my job. That's what I do. Thanks for sending in. It's nice to have more people sending in. We need some more brave souls. Some of our new listeners that have tweeted at us or have talked to me on Steam, I would love to hear from you guys. I'm not going to call out anybody yet, but maybe in a few weeks I'll start calling people out. That might not go so well, though. We might lose subscribers for that. It's a tough choice. Anyways, where do we want to start on this?
Oh, well, he kind of went back and forth on his opening answer to, are we too hard on AAA games? Because he said yes, and then he kind of backpedaled on that, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think he talked himself out of his argument, which is interesting.
I mean, you can rationalize or argue yourself down. That's fine.
Well, the thing is, I could see his point. He's talking, it's not the devs, it's the publishers, but when we're talking about a AAA game, they're one and the same. They're so intermingled.
Most of the time they are, yeah. Actually, are there any modern day games that, AAA games that the developer and the publisher aren't the same?
Well, you could always go, like the AAA independent, which is like Valve or Blizzard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, I can't think of any AAA studio because I mean all of the AAA studios have been gobbled up, or they have become their own entities.
Or the AA studios. EA is the developer of worlds. It seems
the devourer of developer souls.
Yeah, and then it just spits out the empty husk when it's done.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, even Valve, we can't even call them completely independent because they have had stuff published by EA, but it's usually their physical copies of games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Valve doesn't really develop games anymore.
No, Valve just rolls around in marketplace money.
They've got fuck you money. Does Valve have any active projects right now?
Not that we know of, but the thing is that Valve is very secretive about their projects.
Yeah.
Most of their focus has been mostly on development of not Diablo. That'd be Blizzard. Blizzard for it's finishing up development on Diablo 3, and of course Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm. I had to think for a moment on that, and of course Overwatch, which has been their big cash cow. Valve has Dota 2. They're continuing development on Counter-Strike Go. Still a little bit of development on the side of Team Fortress 2, but not nearly as much as it used to be. Well, TF2 used to have multiple huge updates a year, but now they'll get maybe one a year.
Valve really the last year or two has been focusing on hardware development.
Yeah.
Because Valve was behind the HTC Vive and obviously the Steam controller and the Steam Link. And for a while they were working on the Steam machines. And I mean, most of those were outside, but they had their own.
Yeah, the Steam machines were more of a concept that they floated that never really took off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking right now to see if they have any known active development projects. And outside of their hardware stuff, there's a rumor floating around that they're developing the next Portal game right now. But it doesn't look like there's any proof of that.
Well, here's the thing is that there's a rumor that they've been working on Half-Life 3 for the last decade.
It's very true.
Which, sad thing, we're at the decade mark for Half-Life 3.
Yeah, I don't ever want that game to come out. It just won't be any good.
I need to look up something.
Okay. Is this like a full pause?
No, this is more just a joke that I'm doing. Let's see. Half-Life of radioactive elements. We are at the... that's not a full list. Here we go. Let's see. Half-Life by seconds... I'm looking for the years one. Hang on.
Okay.
Let's see. We are at... we're past Cobalt 60 by quite a bit. We're approaching Hydrogen 3, which is 12.32 years. Then Californium 250 at 13.08. So I'm trying to figure out which radioactive element Half-Life 3 is made out of.
Oh.
What?
That was a very highbrow joke. I liked it.
It makes up for the fart joke earlier, right?
It does. It balances you out from the fart joke. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder which radioactive element they are making this out of. I hope it's not something crazy like nickel-63, which is a half-life of 100 years.
What's U-235? Isn't that in the thousands?
Happy to find it on here. Uranium 235 is 703.8 years.
How long?
I'm just making sure I have the right one. Uranium 235 is low over 700 years.
Okay. Oh, 238. Okay, I was like, this says it's 4.47 billion years, but that's for 238, not 235. Thanks, Google, for showing me the wrong information.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. Uranium 238. Well, let me make sure I don't have. Sorry, 235 is in scientific notation. I didn't catch that at first. It's years to the power of 6. So I didn't catch it with scientific notation. So Kyle stopped writing in.
So what did you say it was? 700 and what?
703 years to the times 10 to the power of 6.
So that's hundreds, thousands, 10 to 100,000.
Yeah, and I think I may have screwed up my joke because I went with wasn't paying attention to the scientific notation.
So that's 703 million years.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully it's not U235.
Yeah. So no, it looks like I don't see scientific notation on this. So yeah, my joke is still good. We're approaching hydrogen 3.
Nice. Okay. What were the other things he talked about? His recording stuff?
Yeah, he's becoming a YouTuber. And he proud of copyright. And there's actually 2 different versions of copyright claims that you can get on yourself. You get copyright strikes, which are the bad things. So that's the 3 strike out your policy. But the thing is that's an extreme thing. That's uploading a full movie, for example. Uploading a full song. Without anything else with it. Even that doesn't really get copyright strikes. Copyright strikes are typically reserved for huge things like movies.
Or when a developer gets pissy and wants to get one over a YouTube reviewer.
Yeah, Sega. Also trying to up their search results on things.
Yeah.
Copyright matches is what you'll usually run into, and that's what you'll likely run into with the rock opera game, is that it says, okay, this song is in there. We're not mad at you, but we're going to take the ad revenue.
Yeah.
And the reason why you see a lot of YouTubers upset about it is that, that's their livelihood.
Yep.
So they're not getting anything for that. It's not even... That's kind of the galling thing, is that it's not even a share. It's, they're taking it all, even if it's a 5-second clip and an hour-long video.
Yeah. I kind of make a game out of trying to get the most copyright matches that I can in certain content. My highest so far is like 55.
Well, you could always just start adding Nintendo things.
I could.
Because Nintendo has... a very, very strict policy of you do not make money on it unless you sign up with us, and then you get a little pittance. It's a reason why I had a plan to go do emulation stuff with Nintendo stuff, and I completely dropped it.
I don't blame you.
It's just not worth the effort. And it's a long process to go through the vetting process to begin with. Almost like coming from a certain country into the United States.
We just couldn't make it, could we?
Nope.
Just couldn't do it.
Hey,
we tried.
I didn't try. I was the one that did it.
Fair enough. I tried.
To be fair, you didn't run this by me beforehand.
No, that's true. I was just going to just leave it. Just leave it lying on the floor. The dumpster fire
like someone's popularity rating, their approval rating.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it there for now. We'll put it next to the glue bottle that we smashed open.
Yeah, I'm sure we will be talking about it more and more, but not right now. Does that cover everything in his audio letter? I'm trying to remember. I kind of forgot.
Let's see.
I think that's it, though. Obviously, the FTL stuff has already been played.
The games that he mentioned, actually, I didn't recognize them. I'm not sure if that's good on him or bad on me. And he did bring up his rather diverse music taste. Pretty much anything under the sun, if he's in the mood for it.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
All right. Well, Question of the week time?
Yep. Question of the week was a topic from last week. When do you consider a computer obsolete? And we got a lot of discussion on this. I was surprised, actually. Let's see. Groove. When it's obsolete, Kappa. And then Chemistry replied with an XK CD comic, which I may link. I don't know. We'll see how willing I am whenever I'm doing show notes. If not, go to the Twitter, which you should be anyway. And let's see, Groove. Fun fact, there's logic in video games. Let's see, Ghost Shark. If it can run an OS newer than 3 generations behind the current version, and it can't get upgraded to a more current version. Windows 8 machines are the exception. All of them should be either upgraded or burned at the stake for witchcraft. Chemist, if Microsoft continues the current direction, Windows 7 will stay regardless of how many new OSs come out. Which is pretty true. Do you have any fun Windows 10 stories to share lately? Or
So to play Factorio multiplayer, because it doesn't have the Steam built-in multiplayer stuff. Yet. Hopefully they add it. The easiest way to do it is to use a third-party client to create a virtual LAN. And we all use the Evolve client, not from the game Evolve, but the multiplayer client called Evolve.
Anyways, you cut up on joke. I was gonna say at least somebody's playing Evolve then.
But so anyways, we have to use that. And Windows 10 just does not like it. It's in order to get the game to work, you have to spoof its MAC address and make it think that its address is just 0. Because it installs it like a virtual network drive, and you have to make Windows 10 think that the drive's MAC address is 0. Anything else, and it won't work. It won't connect to their servers. Don't know why. No clue why. Had to go look up how to fix it when I couldn't connect. But that's my only wacky Windows 10 story of late.
I'm disappointed.
I mean, I rebuilt my machine and started from scratch, which helped with a lot of the sort of minor niggles that I was having coming from an updated version. Plus, nice new clean hardware that's not breaking down or catching on fire in front of me. Nothing actually caught on fire. Metaphorical.
As far as you know.
For the whole thing just like dying. I mean, when you can hear your hard drive platter spinning.
Did you start the fire?
It was always burning since the world was turning. Now, when you can hear your hard drive platter spinning, you know that you're in for a bad time. Loudly. With sort of a mechanical sound.
Wait, it's not supposed to do that?
Nope. Not supposed to do that at all.
Is it supposed to go spraying?
Like this?
No, that sounds like you just hit somebody as El Kabong.
Yeah. All right. What are the tweets
Mel's, when it still has a floppy drive. Seriously, Dad, get rid of it already.
Sounds like my dad.
Well, you can say that now about CD drives, actually.
I have a disk drive. They still come in handy.
Yeah, a place to put your drink.
Mine is a CD, DVD, Blu-ray read-write. I mean, the main reason that I have it is just so that I can rip DVDs and Blu-rays to make digital copies.
Because you are a pirate.
Yeah. Disk storage, though, could still be used as viable long-term backup storage as new, more efficient ways to encode data onto the surface of the disk are happening. Dual and triple layer encoding, more precise lasers. There's even a way that I don't think that it's got any commercial products yet. It's still kind of in the development stage, but using the entire width of the disk for storage.
Interesting.
Which would, up the capacity of a disk from, I think Blu-rays are like 50 gigabytes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Doing this would up the storage capacity to several hundred gigabytes to potentially terabyte range if they can make it work efficiently enough. But, that's just for long-term storage. It wouldn't be quickly accessible with current technology.
Yeah, besides, it's not like game developers are going to put their entire game on a disk anyway. Just put the installer on it and be done with it. Download the rest.
Yeah. But still, it would be nice to have, that other form of backup, long-term backup storage. I mean, that's kind of the purpose that tape drives still serve today, because tape is an incredibly efficient way to store and maintain data. It's just very slowly accessible.
Yeah. Let's see, Kyle, when it catches fire.
Yeah, like your PC did.
Have you
Yours and Kyle.
Well, mine, the power supply just broke down, and a computer I had ages ago, and I took the motherboard out with it.
Yeah.
Let's see, Chemist, but honestly, if it runs Windows 7, it could probably run 3/4 of my Steam library, since games I afford are mostly indies. Chemist, when it crashes, when I connect to my pen drive, opens 2 programs at once, or press 3 keys. Basically, what I have to deal with at uni. JD Rock. I tried to run Civ 6 on my laptop. An error popped up saying I didn't have a compatible video card. Obsolete. And that's it for the question of the week.
Awesome. Other random tweets?
Oh, well, I missed a FTL tweet, so I'll add that to the end of things.
Okay.
Let's see. Just a few general tweets. Kyle, nuclear reactors can explode, though it's more of a pressure vessel rupture than a detonation. Well, see, I always went with the Mythbusters definition of explosion. That it has to be cool. I mean that it generates a shockwave. and I don't think a vessel rupture like that generates much of a shockwave. But we're really splitting hairs here, or atoms, as you would say.
Hi-yo.
Let's see. Yes, I know. It's not, they're not doing that. Let's see. Chemists. No Freedom muffins for you, sad face. It's just, first thing in the morning seeing that, which you agreed with me, Jared.
Yeah, it looked gross. It sounded pretty delicious, but it looked really gross.
Let's see. Million Lights. If I read it's all about exploration in this game, I read it as it's lacking content and gameplay mechanics. Would you agree? Groove says yes. And yeah, I think I pretty much agree with that, especially if it's... No, the big one is community-driven content for me.
Yeah, exploration doesn't necessarily mean that, but the work that you have to do to make a game all about exploration actually be long-lasting is a lot of work. And most games don't put in the effort.
Yeah, or another one is, and this is going to sound crazy for me, but whenever a game starts talking heavily about their modding support.
Yeah.
I mean, mentioning it has mod support is one thing, but talking constantly about it makes me think that there's not going to be a lot of gameplay in the base game.
Yeah.
Okay, and Ghost Shark, the FTL tweet that I missed. Crystal Adventures, this will make sense when you hear my audio letter. That's the series that he was talking about in his audio letter.
Okay.
And that's it for tweets.
All right.
So we're going to step back in the elevator for a moment.
We are?
Yeah, I need to take a quick break.
Okay. I guess I can take a very short break as well.
Yeah. Going up?
I thought we were going down.
I'm not falling for that one again.
So you think. All right. Be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I think we should get an old-timey elevator and get a elevator operator.
We can look into that.
We should hire Groove. He's used to being in a small box all the time.
Groove, do you want a job?
And we would have the most delicious elevator ever because it would just be filled with jambalaya.
You hear that, Groove? You want a job? Alrighty. Let's...
Yeah, sorry about the break.
No, you're fine. I suppose it's time to bring this crazy thing in the direction of the end. Alright, are we good?
Well, before we do the weekly deals, I do need to do the email and the Twitter, but... because I nearly forgot again.
Oh, okay.
But take us off the elevator.
Alright. You go ahead and do the Twitter and the email.
Okay, well, nearly forgot about the Twitter and email. You can find us, over on Twitter at VGL Podcast if you wish to tweet at us. And if you wish to send us an email for the game club or anything else, you can do so VGLpodcast@gmail.com. Okay,
all
those
right.
are communications done. Now we can move on to weekly deals.
Indeed, and I'd like to pose a question to you, which I thought of when we were talking earlier. We're coming up with a harder and harder time putting this segment together because we've been just done so many episodes and the same games go on sale all the time. Do you think it's time to retire this section of the show?
Or at least, we talked about making it an occasional thing.
Right.
And we just never did that. Do you want to skip it this week, since it seems like you weren't really too enthralled with what you had?
I wasn't really enthused with what I had. I mean, I picked a couple of games, but really for me, it's like, well, I've kind of recommended, I feel like, every game that regularly shows up on the list. I might check it every week and see if something exceptional pops up. Then I'm like, oh, that's good. I should recommend that.
Yeah, even the Humble Bundle seems a bit weaker this time around. There's a new one out that only game I really know of is one game in the low tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Humble Bandai Namco bundle.
Mm-hmm.
It has Pac-Man 256, Ace Combat Assault Horizon, which I'm sure is interesting at least. I'm not huge into Ace Combat. And it also has Enslaved Odyssey to the West, which I have done a series on.
Assault Horizon is probably the worst one in the series. When I talked last week, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about games, and I was talking about, Ace Combat 7. The game I was referring to that kind of lost a whole bunch of the wackiness that makes the Ace Combat series so fun was Assault Horizon.
I see it. I don't know that Ace Combat series at all, so...
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad game mechanically, it's just, like, compared to the other Ace Combat games, it's lackluster.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the rest of the tiers. So Warhammer game that I don't know. Project Cars, which... Project Cars, from everything I've heard, it's a very, very pretty game. But it's mechanically one of the weaker modern racing games that's been out on Steam.
Yeah.
Or one of the modern major racing games, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Naru game, then... a bunch more added in just under a week. And then the other ones is Tales of Zestria, which I have no idea what the hell this is. A bunch of DLC for Project Cars. And a pre-order for $35. Yeah. The Humble Bundle seems to have really gone downhill, hasn't it? Or it's more they're probably focusing on their monthly bundles.
Yeah, that's probably it. They're focusing on their subscription, whatever. Is it the Humble Monthly, or I forget what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Humble Monthly. That's their big thing.
I think that we should take this segment and make it occasional. We can check every week to see if there's something that like really tickles our fancy.
See if hell froze over?
Yeah. But I'm looking at your two games. I know we've recommended both of those before, and the two games that I picked, I haven't recommended, but I'm not really like excited for them. It's just like, well, I guess these are...
Well, let's just mention them just because we picked them out. But
Sure.
I don't think I'm even going to bother putting them on the show notes because we talked about mine before. Yours, or you sound so lukewarm on them that you...
Yeah.
Mine is Dragon Age Origins Ultimate Edition and Space Pirates and Zombies, Spaz.
Yeah.
2 games I know we've done before.
Yeah.
And yours is Science Girls, which I'm pretty sure I have a review copy of that I never took a look at.
Science Girls is like a turn-based RPG mixed with
A visual novel.
Visual novel, and it's okay. I mean, it's like its main thing is like, oh, these girls are cute because it's not a great game, but it's not a bad game either. So that's why I was like, well, I guess I'll put it.
Yeah,
on the
I
list.
definitely own it. I'm not sure if I got it from a bundle or it's a review copy. It's one of the two.
And then the other one was Cafe O, The Drowned Mermaid, and it's a murder mystery visual novel. I mean, it's a pretty decent one, but as far as as visual novels go, it's one of the first ones that showed up on Steam. So it's okay, but everything that it does has since been done way better.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with being one of the first visual novels is that, you get a lot of popularity because, it's a visual novel, but, you don't have to be particularly good to get that initial attention.
Yeah, so, like I said,
riding
2
on the novelty,
lackluster picks for me.
Yeah, at least mine were good picks. It's just, we've done them before.
Yeah, so we'll retire this as a regular segment, and we can each,
Maybe we could come up with something different.
Maybe. This would be a good time for some audience feedback. Do you guys have like a segment that we've either done before that you'd like us to do more regularly, or suggestions for things that we can try? Obviously, if nothing comes up, we can just add more news topics, or if we need to build up time. But here lately, we've been spending a lot more time talking about games and less on the news. And I don't know if that's just the season that we're in. Like, there's not a lot of news right now.
Yeah, there's not a lot of news right now. That's the problem. I mean, last week we had to do 2 general topics just because there was really nothing out there. And also part of the problem with our just game picks is that we record on a Tuesday and release on a Friday. So we only really get the weekly deals. We don't get the midweek madness, which would that's active now, but will be gone by the time our episode is out. And the weekend deals are not out until the day you're doing the editing. Or if you're not editing, then I'm putting up the podcast and doing show notes.
Yeah.
But it's not realistic to say, well, we should just do it in 24 hours, because that is absolutely insane to do on a long-term basis. We could squeeze it out every so often if need be, but it would drive us absolutely mad.
Yeah. So I know that you suggested something else for question of the week, but a good question of the week might be, what should we replace? Or is there anything we should replace deals of the week with, or new segment ideas?
Okay, I'll put that out there then.
I don't know. You can think of the best way to word it, but yeah, that would be good. It's been a while too since we've directly asked for audience feedback. So, amidst all of this, if you guys want to send in some letters or give us some additional tweets or whatever, any changes that you think could be made to the show, how we've been doing here lately. The shows have been progressively staying longer. I mean, eventually we're going to hit a hard limit where I just can't stay up anymore. I do eventually have to go to bed. I'm a day walker, so.
Meanwhile, I am the night.
Yeah. But, I mean, are you
will
guys
say
liking
that my numbers on YouTube for the podcast has actually been doing somewhat decent.
Yeah.
Well, I should quantify that with, for a channel my size.
Yeah, I actually haven't checked the few most recent ones.
Yeah,
let's see how they're doing.
I'm getting in the ballpark of 15 views for the podcast, which for a 3-hour-long video is absolutely massive.
Yeah, most of mine are actually averaging double digits too, 10, 11, 12. This one's at 7. That one's at 16. So yeah.
Yeah, mine average has been about 15 to 20 actually. For the last few podcasts.
Yeah. So, just any general feedback. Personal question I want to know: do you guys like the closer to 3.5 hour time limit that we've been hitting? Because I mean, we're gonna hit it again. We're already at over 3 hours recording time. Plus, we've got to wrap up. Plus, the other stuff that's gonna go in editing. So,
yeah,
show's gonna be about 3.5 hours. But that would be some good feedback that I'd like to know.
Yeah, and hopefully, over the next week or two, we'll hear from it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll just get told it directly.
Yeah, that would be fine too. I mean, feel free to tell me on Steam or
yeah, but you'll have
Discord.
to tell me because remember, I actually don't get a lot of communication from listeners outside of Discord. That is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do put myself out there for it, where you don't really.
Yeah, I'm the grumpy old man waving his cane around.
Yep. But that's all right. So, with the not-so-community corner, or not community corner, the not-so-weekly deals out of the way, let's move on to the wrapping up portion of the podcast, which is where I always go first. What's coming up on my channel this week on YouTube? It'll be more of the same. Again, I've got another round of videos scheduled to start going up tomorrow from the recording date. Like 7 or 8 days worth of stuff scheduled, and it's Divinity and some more backlog stuff. So working on getting all that stuff out there. Remember, people, from me, that I am going to, or I am actually, I've started the kind of basic scripting for a couple of the episodes, because some of them are going to be scripted, some of them are going to be more off the cuff. I've decided, originally my plan with this was to go completely off the cuff, but I do ramble, especially when I talk about very personal things.
Really?
Yeah, very easy to get sidetracked. So I'm going to do some that are more scripted, or at least have like bullet points or whatever to hit. But I'm doing that project All About Me, which that's still kind of a working title. But since people ask me about my life all the time and the weird, wacky, crazy things that I do that I just don't really give a shit about because I don't care what people think, I get asked lots of questions about things. So I'm just going to do a video series and put it all on YouTube and answer any questions that you want. My life is an open book. Feel free to write in or send me, messages on Steam or whatever, asking me any questions you want me to answer or things you'd like me to elaborate on, and I'll talk about them and put them on YouTube. Like I said last time, hoping to have that up in April-ish. I'm giving myself a very large time frame with which to complete this project. And if it comes out sooner, great, but I definitely would not expect it before April. Also, I want to, this is another future project, I want to, while everyone is gone in March, except for me, like Katie and King, they're taking a 10-day trip to go visit my in-laws, and I'll be here by myself. I want to do a full playthrough of a game on Twitch during that time. I don't know if I'll be able to do it anyways, and I don't even know what game I want to play yet, but that would be fun to just have everyone come hang out and I'll play through a whole game.
The question is, are you going to have people on, or is it just going to be you by yourself?
Haven't decided yet. This is kind of like a spitballing stage, and if anybody wants to give input, by all means, please do so. But again, that's another big future project. And that's it for the channel. If you want to find me on the YouTubes, you can do so by looking up Gaming Psychologist. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where I tweet about lots of things, yes, many of them here lately have been political, and
really?
They probably will be for the at least near future. We'll see how things go.
I give it at least a few years.
You can do so by following me at JMA4707. If you want to watch me stream games on Twitch, which I do regularly a couple of nights a week, and as last night proved, kind of randomly sometimes too, you can do so over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707. And if you want to be my friend on Steam, talk to me about all kinds of things, anything you want to, you can do so by sending a friend request to jarthur4707.
And if you wish to let him know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Snickerdoodle. Snickerdoodle.
You've just made me hungry.
I told you I have a list of really random words, and that's one of them.
That you do. All right, buddy. Well, what about you? What's going on for you this week?
Well, everything's kind of in the middle of series, so there's not a lot to report. Well, let's go down the list. Valiant Hearts, a bit over the halfway point, going to more towards the 3/4 way of the way through. Matter of fact, I think I may have just hit the 3/4 of the way through with my backlog of the series. Still a very good game. It's very, very slow paced though. And it has a lot of interconnected and interwoven storylines. It's very good though. I really liked it so far. Granted, it is a Ubisoft game, so I have had to fight it with my controller because it doesn't like having more than one controller plugged in at a time, which normally that wouldn't be a problem, but I use the DualShock 4. And the way it works is that it emulates a 360 pad and just takes all the inputs from the DualShock 4 and maps it to the emulated 360 pad. For most games, that's not a problem. You still see the DualShock just there idle while the 360 pad's doing all the work, but it just it's not normally a problem, but Valiant Hearts sees two controllers. It's like, I don't know what to do here, and ignores both of them. Thankfully, the software that I use, I'm not running the DualShock 4 compatibility mode in Steam just because I'm not a huge fan of some of the stuff with it. Mostly not the inability to set up dead zones. Because I like my dead zones a little bit larger than what the DualShock 4 has. Otherwise, the controller feels a little too twitchy.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I'm able to hide the DualShock 4, and it's like, oh, only one controller. I could deal with this. Yeah, no problem, boss. So let's see. RimWorld is in about the mid phase. In one of the episodes I just released, I lost, I think, half my colony. And you're going to love this, Jared. Care to guess how I lost half my colony?
Mining accident.
No.
Gay sex and you didn't have any kids.
No.
Suicide from depression.
Technically not, but I did have somebody smoke themselves to death. No, I'm not joking on that. I had someone go into the freezer to smoke some weed, and it knocked his consciousness too low and killed him.
Nice.
That's what I was referring to with "be cool," by the way.
Is that how he killed himself?
Yeah, he smoked some weed and killed himself with it. But no, how I lost about half my colony. There was a pack of manhunting rabbits show up while I had most of my colony out on a hunting trip.
A la Monty Python and the Holy Grail style?
Yes.
Nice.
Only instead of one, there was about, I would say, 15. And they surrounded them, and 3 people each had about 20 different cuts and bites, and they got infected and died.
Nice.
Yeah, one of the mods I have, in case you're wondering, makes it so that Manhunter packs could be literally anything. Usually they're reserved to some of the more dangerous beasts. But it turns out rabbits are also deadly. Who knew? Well, besides Monty Python.
Actually, rabbits can be pretty vicious. You don't think about it because they're so cute and cuddly, but
yeah, but they can leap about.
Claws.
They can leap about, and they have long fangs. But if you wish to join that colony or one of my future colonies, because my name list does carry over, it's just re-randomized every time. Oh, and the faction name, by the way, is the Victims of Circumstance, and boy, did they live up to that. You could either comment on one of my RimWorld videos saying that you want to be part of the colony, or contact me on Twitter, GameUCR. And I'll add you to my name list to become a victim of circumstance, or whatever faction name I come up with. If anybody has a good faction name, I'll add it to a list as well. But I really like Victims of Circumstance. I think that's a good name. And of course, Divinity Original Sin. We're still ongoing with that. We had a bit of a recording hiccup, as you may have heard in the beginning of the show. But hopefully that's ironed out and we'll be able to record Saturday, right?
Should be able to.
I'm just mildly picking on you. A little bit.
Wait, when are we going to record next?
Don't maybe send you a calendar.
Google Calendar always fucks it up, so.
No, I mean a physical calendar.
I've got a physical calendar. It's a calendar with my kids' pictures all over it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's cute. He's so cute. Actually, he is pretty cute. As he learns more and more words, but that he still doesn't know how to pronounce, he says strange things.
Should I send him the word list?
You could. He wouldn't be able to read it. I'd have to tell him the words, but...
Yeah, well, some of these words I don't think you want him to learn. At least not yet.
Ooh. That was a little yawn that snuck in. My coffee's empty and I haven't had any more.
What, am I boring you? Are you not entertained?
Dude, it's 2:40 in the morning.
Yeah, so?
I've been up for a long time.
Okay. Well, but Divinity Original Sin, I say we're a good chunk of the way into the game, but we still have a long, long road to go. A little bit of bickering back and forth between us, but, it makes the making up all the much better, right?
Smoochy.
But you can find all that over on my channel, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. Or you can find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR, where I occasionally post me killing people in Rocket League. Or just other random things. No Twitch.tv, so that wraps me up.
Alrighty. Well, you curious on out?
Well, if I must. I mean, you seem very eager to go to bed for some reason.
It's almost 3 in the morning. I have to... Mondays and Wednesdays now, because of the change in time when we have supervision to an absurdly early morning hour, it means that I have to get up extra early on Wednesdays.
Does this mean we need to change recording times?
I don't know. I've thought about it. Last week was a weird week. And honestly, the last couple of 3 weeks have been weird. So I'm waiting to see how I do with a normal schedule. But I had considered asking to start recording earlier. But I'm not ready to do that just yet.
Well, if you wish to continue listening to us, or if you're listening to us through an alternate means, you can find us over at vglpodcast.podbean.com. We actually got a couple people following us over there now. I didn't even realize that you could really do that.
Yeah, you can follow directly through the Podbean app or on the website.
Yeah, I hadn't poked around there, and I still haven't done the art pass over there. I just had things going on, and being very angry at medical suppliers.
Right.
So you can find us over there with our RSS feed, and iTunes and Google Play should either be updated or updating. So if you wish to use those services instead, you can contact us over at vglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, gaming related topics, or suggestions of what we should do instead of the weekly sales pick. And no, it's not that. We will not do that. Or that. Or especially that.
Do anything for
I was waiting for that
but
one.
I won't do that.
Thank you, Meatloaf. Did
You're welcome.
you know he's actually a vegetarian?
No.
It's just one of those. Yeah, it's just one of those things. He's named Meatloaf, but he's a vegetarian. I guess Tofu Loaf wasn't exactly as catchy. You're Googling this now, aren't you?
I am.
Well, at least he was for a time. I'm not sure if he still is. Or you could tweet us over at VGL Podcast on Twitter. Our Patreon is patreon.com/VGL Podcast, where you could try to support this absolute madness. As Jared quickly is trying to look this up.
Well, it's giving me stuff about Meatloaf, the food.
Try Meatloaf Singer.
Apparently, you can get vegetarian meatloaf.
Which just seems blasphemous, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I quite like meatloaf, actually.
Wait. Food or singer?
Food. Meatloaf the singer. I like kind of his big hits, but most everything else is hit or miss for him.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Anyway, our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and you can find his work in Incompetech.com. So, Jared, it's time for you to go to bed.
That's right, as always, as his loving music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See you next time. Maybe with a little less meatloaf.
Now I'm hungry again.
The Hungry Podcast.